Hello, friends. So, it's been a while since I've made one of these videos, and at this point, once I read the entirety of the breakdown in Cinder's 1,000-page Google Doc, I will be 99% done with covering the Cinder situation. Like I've said, once I've done what I wanted to do with this Google Doc and the last thing I had planned, then I'm gonna leave it in the past. Now, why am I doing this? It's because I didn't like the fact that so many other content creators looked at Cinder's 1,000-page Google Doc and dismissed it or cherry-picked stuff in it to support the narrative that this 1,000-page Google Doc does a good job refuting. So, yeah, at this point, it truly is self-serving, especially since the 1,000-page Google Doc that Cinder dropped was, what, October 7th last year? Hold on. Let me check this in real time. I'm pretty sure it was the 7th. I'm looking it up in real time, guys. I am. Yeah, October 7th, I was right. So, yeah. I am doing this so that way people can have a pseudo audiobook, so not only can they see the words, they can hear it, because Lord knows how many people are going to take the time to read 1,000 pages of stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's part of the reason I'm doing this. So if you want to support Cinder, there will be a link to her card in the description below. The card will contain her socials and her links to her YouTube channel and Twitch. And don't forget to use code Cinder on checkout to get 10% off your order on gamersubs.com. So, just thought I'd throw that out there. There's new flavors out too, I believe. It was like the 0 calorie. I made a video on it, I can't remember what it is. But anyway, yeah. So with that out of the way, let's just get this over with. So, before I get into this, I want to say that I won't be reading the screenshots. I will only read the screenshots if it is necessary, and if you want to see me read the entirety of the document, feel free to check out my Cinder Situation Analysis playlist, where there is literal VODs of me reading the 1,000-page Google Doc when it initially came out last month as of this video being posted. Okay, so, the breakdown. Nanoless, Shylily, and almost a dozen of my friends planned the original documents about me. It took them 2 days to decide to cancel me. Everything was dropped on me out of nowhere, and somehow I was expected to have the perfect response to the claims they had already determined I was guilty of. When I first started this document, I thought my friends all lied about me, Red and Nano, to protect her and hurt me. I couldn't understand why, but as things came together, I was no longer convinced that was the case. It didn't make sense for all of my closest friends to maliciously and willingly lie to the public about me at a moment's notice, no matter what they thought I did to them. However, there's one thing I believe happened that would connect all of their lies back to one place. At the start of this document, I said I was convinced there were two people who drastically influenced how things played out before and after my cancellation. Shylily lied to Nanoless about her own actions towards me, telling Nanoless she was being manipulated when she wasn't. Under the excuse of manipulation that Shylily gave to her, I believe Nanoless lied to everyone about her experience with Red and I to avoid accountability for any of her own actions. With Shylily supporting her, they lied to my friends, and they lied to you. I believe my friends were manipulated by the last people they'd expect to be the manipulators. I believe what my other friends did and said were because they were misinformed about what really happened and were convinced to see things the way they weren't. All of them were making or supporting accusations against me that happened over years, when the timeline for the things those accusations were based on was really only 5 to 8 months long, leading up to my cancellation on April 26th, 2025. They were operating under a different set of information than me, and they used what they already knew to jump to conclusions. They may have also been manipulated not to contact me or Red for our sides of the story because it'd contradict what was being told to them. In this section, I'll be breaking down the documents and statements from Nanoless, Bao, Shylily, and my other friends who were involved. I used their own words and all of the evidence in the past few sections to build a timeline of events, address their claims, and draw conclusions about how and why things happened the way they did. Every topic is separated and all dates and times are in Eastern Standard Time. Screenshots that are directly of or taken from another document are highlighted with an orange border. Dates and important messages within any screenshots are highlighted in yellow. Video timestamps are linked to directly and highlighted in green. Any sections based on speculation are labeled in pink. Who was involved before anything was public? Nanoless. Nano was the source of all of the Discord screenshots that were the starting point for all of the claims that followed. She posted the first document. Shylily. Shylily was the first person Nano contacted about Red's DMs. She was involved in everything from the start. Bao. Red's messages to Nano about Bao were the heart of their claims. She was included as soon as she was able after her surgery. She posted her document minutes after Nano. Numi. Numi's involvement is evidenced by Shylily's knowledge of my private DMs with her about her concert. She also gave a list of people who were involved on her stream on April 28th, 2025. The other three girly pops. I don't believe they were a major part of planning anything that happened and had no malicious involvement. They were only brought into this to help corroborate things the rest of them talked about. Buff Pup and the other three Vichiban members. Numi said that Buff and the other three Vichiban members were also included in their calls together. On Buff's stream from July 22nd, 2025, she basically said she and a lot of other people were involved before things were made public. The VOD of this stream was made private within a week or two of it happening. Sacramore. Bao's video editor Sac had his document written and posted shortly after Bao's. What Red said to Nano about Bao in January was about him too. Of these 12 people, no one contacted me before everything was made public, and only one of them reached out to me right afterwards. I don't have evidence of anyone else being included on this list, although there's more people I suspect to have at least been aware of what was happening beforehand, if not also involved in the planning themselves. I do not believe anyone else who was mentioned in Nano's document were involved at all in the planning of anything beforehand, including Cotton, Silvervale, and Spite. As Nano's document states, their names were censored in it because none of them gave their consent for them to appear before it was posted. Seeing as they all made it known their names were the ones censored shortly after, they must have only been contacted very shortly before it was posted. Cotton tweeted one of Nano's screenshots with her name uncensored about 2 hours after her document was posted, and Silvervale and Spite posted their own documents with Nano's screenshots about 14 and 8 hours after Nano's respectively. The 17-day timeline, April 11th, 2025 to April 28th, 2025. This is the timeline of what happened, starting with Red's messages to Nano about Shylily on April 11th and ending with Shylily's stream on April 28th. April 11th, 2025. Red saw Nano working on a model for Shylily on her stream and messaged her about it. Screenshots in Nano's section. I read Shylily for a second time in the past couple of weeks, and she had another off-putting response to it. April 12th, 2025. Red messaged Nano about Shylily again and talked about her behavior towards me recently. This was the last time Nano messaged either one of us, screenshots in Nano's and Shylily's sections. April 14th, 2025, or April 15th, 2025. Nano showed Shylily the things Red said about her. She was the first person Nano spoke to about it. Shylily told Nano Red was manipulating her, leading to Nano leaking more of their DMs. Shylily told her to contact the people affected, including Bao. Shylily said the screenshots Nano showed her were from a few days ago when she saw them. She said this was what started it all. Speculation. Whether Nano decided to show Shylily more of her messages with Red herself, or Shylily actually asked if Red ever said anything about anyone else, I can't say for certain, but can't rule out the possibility. How much of the context and content of her messages Nano showed to Shylily is also unknown. Shylily convinced Nano she was being lied to, used, and manipulated. Shylily could have instructed Nano to end contact and cut ties with Red and I, who she warned would continue to lie and manipulate her if she didn't. April 15th, 2025. I messaged Bosca since I hadn't heard from Shylily directly in weeks. He implied she'd be too busy to plan anything with me anytime soon, screenshots in Shylily's section. I messaged Nano for the last time, asking her to come on my stream again, but she never replied, screenshot in Nano's section. Akira, Nano's new manager, messaged Red about Nano parting ways with us due to artistic burnout. Screenshots in Nano's section. April 16th, 2025. Red messaged Akira again for more clarification on what was happening with Nano. Screenshots in Nano's section. April 18th, 2025. Nano did not message Bao. Shylily did instead, telling her they needed to talk. Bao told Shylily she wasn't in the right headspace and to wait until after her surgery. However, it was rescheduled for Monday, April 21st, 2025. They did not talk until after Bao recovered from surgery. Speculation. Nano could have messaged Bao about this too, like Shylily suggested, but apparently didn't. Shylily was the one to reach out to Bao to tell her this information. Why? April 21st, 2025 to April 23rd, 2025 speculation. Sometime between these dates was when my other friends first were informed and got involved in what was happening. A few of them had plans to go to a Ren fair between the 18th and 20th. Red and I were originally supposed to go too, but had to cancel because of family plans for Easter. I don't think Shylily would have told any of them about this while on their trip between these dates. The last message from any of my friends was from Numi in our DMs on the night of the 21st. It was uncharacteristically short. On her stream on July 22nd, 2025, Buff said that with the Fire VTuber that happened recently, a lot of us didn't say anything until the person who was affected said something, and we all went to said person and said, hey, what do you want to do? And they said, I want to do this. And we said, okay girl, like you go do that and we'll be here to support it. The way Buff said this implies that my friends all knew about what happened before. The person who was affected, Bao, was even involved because of her surgery. A lot of us didn't say anything until the person who was affected said something. Isn't talking about saying something publicly, because right after Buff said they asked that person what they wanted to do about the situation, which Bao revealed was her choice. The VOD of this stream was made private within a week or two of it happening. April 21st, 2025, I sent my last message to Shylily to talk about whatever was going on between us. She never replied. Screenshot in Shylily's section. Red sent a final message to Akira about Nano. Screenshots in Nano's section. Bao underwent her surgery and started recovery. April 23rd, 2025, Bao finally talked with Shylily about what was going on, and they made a group chat together. Evidence, corroborate stories, and planned the documents together. Bao's editor, Sacramore, was involved sometime after this, most likely by her. Bao's document said, I found out about this less than 48 hours ago at the time it was posted on the night of the 25th Pacific Standard Time. And Lily said this was 5 days before her stream on the 28th. Speculation. It's possible that Bao's other editors, including my own video editor, may have known about this ahead of time too. April 25th in Pacific Standard Time, April 26th in Eastern Standard Time. Nano's, Bao's, and Sacramore's documents were posted within the same 23-minute span. Nano's at 1:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, screenshot in Nano's section. Bao's just 6 minutes later at 1:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, screenshot in Bao's section. And Sacramore's 17 minutes after that at 2:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, screenshot in Bao's section. Sometime during this, both Red and I sent separate messages to Nano that were soon deleted, followed by her blocking us. Speculation. Their documents were posted together in the middle of the night in my time zone, so I'd be asleep when it happened. I wouldn't have a chance to do or say anything to anyone before their narrative about me was widespread, out of Shylily's fear of me manipulating my way out of it. Shortly before, Cotton, Silverveil, and Spite were contacted about their inclusion and possibly encouraged to make their own statements, evident by their names still being censored in Nano's document when it was posted, but Cotton tweeting one of Nano's uncensored screenshots just 2 hours later, and Silver's and Spite's documents posted the next day, including Nano's DM screenshots too, with their own names uncensored. They weren't contacted by Nano, but I believe by Shylily, just like Bao was. I had a fight and falling out with Red before 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which led to me firing him at 4:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Screenshots in Red section. The documents and statements posted by others throughout April 26th and 27th weren't pre-planned alongside Nano's, Bao's, and Sacramore's, so I won't list them here. April 27th, 2025, I posted my apology at 4:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, screenshot in my apology section. Bao replied to my apology with her own post at 5:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, screenshot in Nano's and Bao's sections. Shylily replied directly to my apology at 6:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, screenshot in Shylily's section. Bao streamed that night to talk about everything. April 28th, 2025, Buff Pup had her stream, Shylily had her stream, Numi had her stream. Everyone else streamed their thoughts throughout the rest of the week. Nano's new manager. Speculation. The first thing that needs to be addressed is Nano's new manager, whose messages were shown at the end of Nano's section. Who was Akira, and how did they get involved? It's very hard to believe they were ever actually Nano's manager, so how are they connected and how did they get in contact with Red? Akira is the game director of Kernel Hearts and founder of the game studio Ephemera Games in Argentina. Akira follows Nanoless, but nowhere on their page does it say anything about Nanoless. Nano does not follow Akira, and nowhere on her page or website does it say anything about Akira being her manager or business contact either. They've never interacted on Twitter either. Mio, Nano's husband, who's always acted as her manager, is present on Nano's profile. However, Momotex follows Akira, as the screenshot above shows. Momo is the lead artist of Akira's upcoming game, Kernel Hearts, and is also from Argentina. Momo is also close friends with Nano, who she saw in real life on May 2nd, 2025, 5 days after I posted my apology on April 27th, 2025, and a week after Nano posted her document. I don't know if Nano knew Akira already, but Momo is the only connection I could find between them. In the past, Nano's talked to her friends about things Red had said to her. In November 2023, it was Nano's friends who told her that it was unfair for Nano to only work with us. This is something Nano was confused about and not something Red said to her. In January 2025, Nano went to her friends for advice about exclusivity when talking business with Red. In a conversation from November 28th, 2024, that wasn't shown in Nano's section, Nano was shown to be leaking private artwork she was working on for my upcoming debut to her friend. After speaking to Shylily about Red, could Nano have gone to her friend Momo, who connected her with Akira to play the role as her new manager to Red? Akira was someone Red and I didn't know, and now we know Red's conversation with him wasn't genuine, evident but what happened after, but also the fact Nano removed evidence of her ever being in the chat to begin with. She then made Red the group leader before leaving. To leave a Discord group you own, you need to manually choose someone to be the leader. She did not choose her manager, Akira, in this chat supposedly about her commissions. She chose Red to make it look like it was his group all along, and that she was never a part of it, because their actual goal was to separate us from Nano altogether. So why was this done, and why do I think this was only after Nano spoke to Shylily? Nano avoided ever communicating directly with either Red or I again after April 12th, 2025, and I don't believe she would have gone through this effort with Akira on her own. Everything started when Shylily told Nano that the things Red said about her were all lies and manipulation. Wouldn't it be likely that at some point Shylily would suggest or direct Nano to separate herself from Red and I to avoid being further lied to and manipulated? Nano then needed to find someone neither Red or I knew to separate us since she couldn't do it herself. The same way she couldn't contact Bao herself and Shylily had to do it for her. Nano's message screenshots, time zones, and context. Speculation. Before going over Nano's document, we discovered that some of Nano's screenshots are dated in 2 different time zones relative to Eastern Standard Time. Some 1 hour ahead and some 2 hours ahead. For her screenshots to show this, Nano's account would have to have been physically logged into in 2 different time zones when taking some... I can't talk. For her screenshots to show this, Nano's account would have to have been physically logged into in 2 different time zones when taking them sometime between April 12th, 2025 to April 26th, 2025. Nano would have had no reason to have these screenshots from conversations years apart and years earlier already taken before Red spoke to her on April 12th, 2025, and must have had at least some taken during the same time as her conversation with Shylily just days later to show her. I can read, I swear. This is the first screenshot shown in Nano's document about the exclusivity deal. The first message is timestamped at 8:29 p.m. This is Nano's message in Red's DMs shown as 6:29 p.m. in Eastern Standard Time. Nano's screenshot is 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. This is one of the screenshots about Shylily in Nano's document. The first message shows 10:16 p.m. Here's the message in Red's DM showing 9:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nano's screenshot is only 1 hour ahead. If Nano was the one who took all of her own screenshots herself in the same 2-week span from April 12th, 2025 to April 26th, 2025, this discrepancy shouldn't exist. This shows Nano likely wasn't acting alone when taking screenshots of her own DMs that were shown in her document. Here is a list of the dates and topics of the screenshots that appear in Nano's document and the time difference to Eastern Standard Time. I've also listed which conversations were shown in full and which are missing context in her document. May 10th, 2023, 1 hour ahead, Spite. Does not show the full conversation or everything that was said about Spite. July 19th, 2023, 1 hour ahead, Silvervale does not show the full conversation or anything from the previous conversation about Silvervale from May 10th, 2023. November 19th, 2023, 2 hours ahead, exclusivity and it's just business. Does not show the full conversation and never showed the pivotal conversation that happened before this on November 17th, 2023. November 25th, 2023, 2 hours ahead, exclusivity and it's just business. Does not show the full conversation and is also missing the context from November 17th, 2023. November 26th, 2023, 2 hours ahead, exclusivity and it's just business. Nano's DMs with me does show the full conversation, but missing the context of anything from November 17th, 2023, and was presented before any of the DMs from November 25th, 2023, with Red in Nano's document. August 5th, 2024, 1 hour ahead, Bow does not show the full conversation and doesn't show any of the vital context from the conversation on July 26th, 2024. It also doesn't show any of the following DMs on August 6th, 2024, or what this situation led up to on September 29th, 2024. January 15th, 2025, 2 hours ahead, the exclusivity deal does not show the full conversation, and what's shown is manipulated to hide Nano's guilt and acceptance of the deal with Red. February 11th, 2025, 2 hours ahead, canceling the exclusivity deal, Nano's DMs with me, does not show the full conversation. It does not show Nano's messages to Red canceling the deal from February 10th, 2025. April 12th, 2025, 1 hour ahead, Shylily does show the full relevant parts of the conversation. Nano said nothing incriminating, and everything Red said was claimed as false when it wasn't. The full context of what happened in Red and Nano's DMs would have shown Nano's guilt and Red's innocence. Breaking down Nano's document. Nano's story in our document was the basis for any information from anyone else involved being made public, with her DMs being the source of many of the claims made. How else could anyone come out publicly and use Nano's messages with my manager as evidence unless she was a victim herself? Nano lied to my friends and lied to the public, saying that what was presented in her document was what truly happened. Let's go through Nano's document piece by piece. Nano's document for reference, terminating my work with Sinder, posted on April 26, 2025 at 1:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I wanted to share my experience with Sinder and Red manipulating me. Nano wasn't manipulated to do anything she didn't want to at any point in any conversation with Red or I. Treating Nano well over the years we've worked with her is not manipulation. Red gossiping with his friend Nano about drama and his feelings towards other people without asking for anything in return is not manipulation. Red expressing his opinion without asking her to make any changes in her work is not manipulation. Both of us sympathizing with her point of view on different occasions is not manipulation. Red reassuring Nano about her wanting to cancel models no matter whose it was is not manipulation. Red telling Nano about what he had against Bao after she asked him to explain it to her is not manipulation. Red and Nano negotiating a mutually agreed upon deal is not manipulation. Using me. Nano was never used. She was a cherished work partner and friend to both me and Red. We both did everything we could for her, and I've praised her countless times on stream and to friends. And dragging me into drama. Nano never had a problem with Red gossiping to her about drama. She had no problem talking about the drama about Bao in January or about Shylily in April. The only person Nano got tired of hearing about and wanted nothing to do with the drama related to her was Silvervale because of her own relationship with her. While sabotaging, slandering, and spreading lies about people I thought were her closest friends, the only person Red had a hand in sabotaging was Bao. When Nano offered to him that she'd cancel Bao's model in exchange for paying for her own model rigging, he didn't go into the conversation with Nano looking to have anything cancelled with Nano. He wanted to prevent Bao from working with her because of his own opinions as part of an exclusivity deal. He told Nano never mind when finding out about her model, before Nano said it was okay and inquired further before she offered to cancel it. Red didn't lie about anyone he talked to about Nano about, not Spite, Silver, Bao, or Shylily. Even if some things he said could have been wrong, everything he said to her was based on his own opinions, experiences, observations, and what he genuinely believed to be true. The way you'd talk to a friend. The same way my friends said how they thought Red and I worked together at home and about what they were led to believe happened. He did not maliciously lie about anyone to sabotage them. I want to share what I've endured over the years. You've seen what Nano had to endure over the years in her section of this document. I wasn't sure if what I felt and experienced working was real or just burnout. This is the only time burnout is mentioned in Nano's document, even though that was the entire reason her manager Akira told Red she wanted to stop working together about a week earlier. If Nano genuinely felt this way, then she showed no signs of it to either of us, including in her last messages to us. The last time she implied feeling burnt out was 7 months earlier in September 2024, when she cancelled 7 models herself. The one and only time Nano specifically said she was feeling burnt out to Red was in May of 2024, almost an entire year earlier. Nano never expressed to me directly that she ever felt this way. I think this proves that I was lied to and manipulated over the course of years while working with Sinder. This is an interesting thing to say after knowing the full context of Nano's DMs with Red, and as you'll see, how many lies are present in this document to manipulate the narrative to the public, and the fact my friends were lied to and manipulated to support her. This was an assumption made to pin all the blame for Red's words and actions on me, and there was no way Nano or anyone else could definitively say that in every single instance this was the case. It's not true. The only evidence shown to argue this case was of 3 total screenshots of my DMs with Nano that were from the 2 conversations almost 2 years apart from each other, where I was told more or less what happened between her and Red beforehand. Nano's entire document purposely refers to both Red and I as one throughout it to push this assumption necessary to the narrative as fact. An excuse as to why this document is not written like Nano would, and evidence that she did not write or put it together herself. Below, you'll see that what's presented first in Nano's document is what happened regarding Bao, not by talking about herself or the alleged abuse she experienced, or what happened first chronologically. Nano is on record saying she doesn't care about Bao, so it's puzzling why she chose to do this herself. And before breaking down this section about Bao, I also need to point out the problem with the presentation of her model cancellation in Nano's document. Bao's model was cancelled once in August of 2024 because Nano was overwhelmed with her workload, and again in January 2025 due to their offering and agreeing to do it in her deal with Red. Nano's document misleads you into believing all of Red's messages about Bao and her model are from one time, never specifying a difference in the presentation of messages that were over 5 months apart. Placing the DMs from January 2025 right before August 2024, it then deceitfully manipulates the messages to leave out vital context and misconstrue what actually happened in each case, spreading rumors while manipulating me that it's all in our best interest. Nowhere in the screenshots presented does Red say to Nano that anything would be all in our best interest. Red has never said anything like this to Nano. They also complain and accuse Bao of giving their editor too much work, resulting in the editor not having any time for new clients, which will be important later on. Red did not make this claim against Bao, and said nothing about our video editor not having time for new clients. Our editor wasn't seeking to take on more clients, and was content editing for me and Bao only. This is what he said, which is what the screenshots below show in our document. And this couldn't have been confused with Bao's editor, not only because she specified she was talking about our editor in what was written, but because Red's DMs specify our editor and her editor as different people in the same conversation that's shown next. This claim was only made to push the false narrative that we were maliciously overworking Nano, which is brought up later in our document. The screenshots below show them showing their affection and appreciation, immediately followed by spreading rumors and lies to make other clients appear problematic to manipulate any future decisions regarding commissions. Here is a direct claim of manipulation by Nano with screenshotted evidence presented. However, when you have the full context, you can see the affection and appreciation Red showed was in response to Nano's own messages that were purposely cut from the document. Why weren't these messages shown? Next are 3 screenshots from January 2025 presented in our document. As you saw in Nano's section, this was not the beginning of Red's conversation with Nano about their exclusivity deal, but this is where it was chosen to start. The messages have been purposely manipulated to remove context, so I've added back what was missing and their messages between these images highlighted with a white border. I've done so for the rest of her document too. I've also dated each non-sequential screenshot Nano presented in Eastern Standard Time like they're dated in Red's screenshots, to show when each one happened. The chronology of events was disregarded in her document to push its narrative. I've also labeled the difference in time in the screenshots compared to Eastern Standard Time due to the time zone discrepancy I talked about. Note, the first image shown in Nano's document was Red's message about Cotton edited out of it. Nano, having no relationship with Cotton, would have no reason to do this herself, and this message was included in the screenshot in Bao's document. Nano said, I don't really care about Bao and Cotton. Screenshots from January 15th, 2025 at 6:25 p.m., which is 6:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. What is presented next is a screenshot from over 5 months prior in August of 2024 when Bao's model was cancelled the first time. Screenshot in this image is from August 5th, 2024 at 3:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. Red asked me to cancel on one of their closest friends, Bao, by asking me to cancel my work mid-progress. Nano's document never shows where Red asked Nano to cancel Bao's model because it didn't happen. Bao's model was cancelled, but he did not ask her to do it, not in August of 2024 or in January of 2025. In the instance last year shown above in Nano's document, she was the one to bring up and consider cancelling Bao's model. All Red did was reassure her in 2024 that it was okay to do so, since that is what she implied she wanted, and ended up going through with it herself. Plus, about a week before it was cancelled, Nano told Red and Bao's model hadn't even been started. How could it have been cancelled mid-progress? Even though Nano's document only presents Bao's model being cancelled once, and the evidence shown above was from August 2024, let's assume that Bao's model was cancelled mid-progress in January 2025. Well, in January, Nano told Red Bao's model was on her list, as in on her commission list, and not mid-progress. I do not believe Nano would cancel a project if she had any significant amount of work invested into it already. Red did not ask her to cancel Bao's model in January either. Nano offered and agreed to do it in their deal, but that wasn't shown or mentioned in Nano's document at all. The document could only show Bao's model being cancelled in August because it couldn't show anything about it in January without implicating Nano herself. The narrative that Nano was a victim would fall apart because she gladly and willingly offered and agreed to a deal where she benefited at Bao's expense. In addition, it was easy for her to offer to cancel the model again because of the fact it was not mid-progress. It was upsetting to me that Red contacted me specifically to check on me canceling the model I had planned with Bao. Her document also doesn't show where Red supposedly contacted Nano specifically to check on her canceling the model she had planned with Bao because it doesn't exist. He messaged her to see if she decided to cancel any other projects she expressed interest in canceling that they previously discussed, to which she replied, "Not yet." And I can imagine how upsetting this all must have been for her, considering she was the one who brought up canceling Bao's model in the first place in August, even telling her that she didn't think she could finish her model, and in January was the one who offered to cancel Bao's model in exchange for paying for her own model's rigging. They mentioned wanting an exclusivity contract, but they didn't want to pay for exclusivity. Neither Red or I had a problem with paying Nano for model exclusivity, which was shown with our video editor artist number 1 and artist number 2, who will be shown in Silvervale's section. To our video editor, to artist number 1, to artist number 2. Nano said she'd want a monthly fee, and Red explained to her what we were looking for, which led to him talking about the 3 people he didn't want her to work with. Afterwards, Nano offered to cancel Bao's model in exchange for paying for her model rigging, and that an exclusivity deal about new babies would be separate from the deal they eventually came to. They made a mutual agreement without general model exclusivity and payment being involved. Why wasn't this shown in Nano's document? But rather, when a creator from their blacklist comes asking for a commission, they would guarantee me model work for Sinder only, and if anyone asked me for commissions, they'd commission me instead to compensate for not working with other creators. This felt very strange. Red told Nano that if Silvervale asked her for art, we'd replace that work with our own art project. He did not specify model work or say anything about Sinder only. It must not have felt very strange to Nano at the time because she said herself it do be fair, then accepted the deal, willingly doing this to Silvervale for her own gain. This was only in regards to Silver, like Red says directly above, and never once did he suggest this apply to anyone else who'd ask her for a commission like Nano's document just claimed. One of the accusations they made was overworking their editor. As you saw, this was never an accusation Red made with Bao, and this was the closest thing he said. Earlier in the document it said, this baseless claim about overworking our editor would be important later on, so it could support another baseless claim presented here. Yet their solution to me working with other creators was for them to essentially overwork me to keep me from working on other projects. This is everything we commissioned Nano for in the past year. Nano willingly and excitedly accepted and made time for everything listed here, and besides the increase in GamerSup's work. Our project cadence with her has always been consistent. We always had Nano make my models and outfits with a new starting screen for each of my debuts. We went to her for any major artwork for GamerSup's projects because of how important she was to my brand image and how important they were to her, with the exception of my VCard artwork specifically because they would have overloaded her schedule. She could have always turned us down if she wanted to, and if she couldn't take our work at the time, we would have either found another artist or pushed our plans back for her like we always have. March 2024, GamerSup's Waifu Cup Art. April 2024, 2.0 Model Pyro Pup Edition. May 2024, Unreleased GamerSup's Art. June 2024, Bikini Model Outfit. August 2024, Heaven Hound Model. October 2024, Unreleased GamerSup's Art. November 2024, Heaven Hound Starting Screen Art. December 2024, Unreleased GamerSup's Art. January 2025, GamerSup's AFK Label Art. February 2025, Sleepy Model. March 2025, Sleepy Starting Screen Art. The argument that we were overworking her to purposely keep her from other projects is objectively false. The only project she was kept from was when she offered to cancel Bao's model and made a deal with Red in January, and any potential Silvervale project she would have been kept from, she never was, because she went back on her agreement a week after her model's rigging was paid for, and as soon as Silver asked her for artwork, Silver didn't lose out on working with Nano. The last time she implied feeling overworked was 7 months earlier in September 2024, when she cancelled 7 models herself and had no problem doing so when she wanted to lighten her workload. She could have done the same to us, but never did. She just wanted to do Sinder stuff. Nano's document goes from, they didn't want to pay for exclusivity, which was untrue. Nano said new model exclusivity would be a different deal than what her and Red eventually agreed on, and payment wasn't included in the deal they made. To, but rather when a creator from their blacklist comes asking for permission, they would guarantee me model work for Sinder only. By terms of the agreement, she agreed to. If she turned down a commission for Silvervale, we'd replace any income with a project of her own that she'd otherwise lose by doing so. 2, yet their solution to me working with other creators was for them to essentially overwork me to keep me from working on other projects. The solution was the deal Red and Nano agreed to, but wasn't shown in her document. How could we have been overworking Nano by replacing Silvervale's projects she would have otherwise accepted anyway? Does that mean when Silver asked her for artwork and Nano walked back on the deal, Silver was then overworking her, or only if she turned Silver down and we gave her a replacement project, then that would be us overworking her? This conclusion doesn't make sense, and is a blatant lie about what happened, strung together to make it sound like we were abusing Nano when we weren't. Their primary concern is that the more non-Cinder models I make, the less valuable my existing models become. That by working with other people, I'm somehow making my existing models less special. I'm just going to quote a part of what Red said in the Nano section about this. His full reasoning can be found there. To Red, it was a matter of supply and demand, just like a rare trading card. The more models Nano made, and the more often she would, the less valuable they'd become for the people who have them. Nano's models are all of incredible quality, extremely unique, and highly sought after, but they'd each individually be less special or valuable if there were 100 of them rather than only 10. From a VTuber's perspective, your visual identity is extremely important. Your design, your model, and its art style are a huge part of what makes them who they are and how they are represented and recognized. The fewer VTubers with their model's art style, the more unique it is to have it. They stand out more, and it becomes a more personal, defining feature of that VTuber representing that artist. We all know of at least one VTuber who has the only model from a certain artist, or one of a handful of models from them. The more models that artist makes, and the easier it is to get one, will inherently lessen the perceived value of the VTuber's visual identities who have those models. Following screenshot is of them setting up the blacklist, saying I am not allowed to work with any new clients or create any new outfits for Silvervale specifically, and justifying those things by saying that with each model my art becomes less unique and special, and therefore Cinder somehow will become less special. The following screenshot is of Red stating the terms to start negotiating an exclusivity deal, specifying that our existing model clients and our artwork commissions would be unaffected. How Red justified the terms he started with doesn't matter. Nano didn't have to agree with him, they never spoke about his thought process here, and still reached an agreement at the end of their conversation. The idea that my work as an artist and designer is devalued by working with other people is insane and hurtful. Red's model ideology should never have been shared with Nano unless he actually explained to her what he was talking about. He never forced Nano to agree with him, and both of us could see and understand both sides of the argument, which is why it wasn't brought up since 2023 until he went to Nano about exclusivity. Nano didn't push back or question it when Red said it, and was still willing to negotiate an exclusivity deal that would have prevented her from working with other people. And after realizing what taking a deal with them would really mean for both my workload and my mental health, I backed out. The way this is written makes it seem like Nano never agreed to a deal with Red when she actually did, but it's purposely never shown in her document. Nano said the deal was fair and gladly accepted it, but it's specifically cut off in the screenshots from her document. Red asked her to confirm the details of their agreement, and she did. She only backed out a month later, after she had already gotten what she wanted, and because Silvervale approached her for a commission and she couldn't turn her down. Her messages canceling the deal to Red were, again, never shown. Her workload wasn't and wouldn't have been affected at all, other than her having less work after canceling Bao's model, which was presented as only happening once in her document. Screenshot from January 15th, 2025 at 4:48 p.m., which is 6:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. Then the screenshots jump to the end of their conversation an hour later, but cut off right before Nano calls the deal fair and accepts it to make the argument she never agreed to a deal with Red. Screenshot from January 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m., which is 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. Another example of speaking ill of other creators right after they saw I was working with Shylily, trying to once again make the idea of working with other clients seem like I am setting myself up with problematic people to get me to reconsider working with them. That's not at all what happened, or was implied to Nano by Red in their conversation. At no point did he say anything about reconsidering work with Shylily or to cancel her plans. Red told Nano what I'd been experiencing with Shylily because he thought that her working with Nano on a model could be correlated, and he's always gossiped with her as his friend. They also continuously kept asking about my other clients' plans, which had been done for well over 2 years between Red and Nano, with her willingly sharing them even about Shylily, which is what this is in reference to. For Nano to suddenly imply this was a problem to her is contradictory to years of her own behavior, and immediately went into slandering Lily. Red did not slander Lily. The things Red told Nano were true to what I was actually experiencing with her. Keep trying to bring drama in as reasons for me to go exclusive, and that working only with Sinder is them trying to look out for me. The deal Red and Nano had was made 3 months earlier and ended 2 months before this conversation. It only involved 3 people. Nano and Red never talked about exclusivity beyond what happened there, and Nano never said it was off the table. Red wouldn't have had to convince her to go exclusive, somehow using drama to do that. It was a matter of making another deal like Nano said. She was the first one to bring up the possibility of exclusivity. In their conversation about Shylily, there was nothing about exclusivity working only with me, that this drama was any kind of reason for her to do so, or Red ever saying he was looking out for her. This claim misleads you again to believe that Nano never agreed to a deal with Red to begin with, when she actually did. These screenshots were from April of 2025. Screenshots from April 12th, 2025 at 9:16 p.m., which is about 9:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. The idea that they need to stay informed and gauge the competition is extremely upsetting and toxic to me. Sharing her plans has never bothered Nano in the years of working with Red, and for her to flip her opinion of this out of nowhere is unbelievable. Besides willingly sharing what she was doing with Shylily 2 weeks before I was cancelled, she even shared her project plans with Silvervale after cancelling her deal with Red because of it. And Red never used the phrase gauge the competition like is quoted in Nano's document. These are the closest things he said. The competition they're referring to are people I thought they considered friends who always helped support it in platform Cinder. No, excuse me. The competition referred to in the messages shown was one person, not plural. Red said he thought we'd have to start considering Shylily as competition with how she was treating me at the time of this conversation. I did not start to view her this way and only wanted to fix what was going on, evident in my message to her on April 21st, 2025. When I pushed back, the immediate response was blaming the other creators and implying that they initiated it by trying to work with me. No, Shylily working with Nano was not the catalyst for Red thinking this way, but it was the reason he talked to Nano about her. Again, this conversation is about Shylily, not plural creators. Red said to Nano that it felt like we'd have to compete with Shylily and start considering her as competition because of her unwarranted actions and change in attitude towards me. She was not treating me like a friend, and working with Nano on a new model was just another thing on top of what I was already experiencing that Red thought was related, and that somehow justified their actions. What actions? What action did Red take against Shylily in his messages to Nano besides asking Nano questions and daring to tell her what Shylily was doing towards me? They imply Lily ignored Sinder when she spent over a minute thinking the raid, which you can see in this clip. Red said Shylily wouldn't acknowledge me by name, not ignore my raid. Red clearly says in his messages to Nano that I raided Shylily a couple times, but Nano's document only addressed one of them. Nano included an exact time-stamped link to one of the 2 times I raided Shylily that Red told her about in Shylily's defense. Here's the link to that raid from March 30th, 2025. 6 hours, 52 minutes, and 52 seconds in, Shylily greeted the raiders and didn't say hi to me or thank me for the raid. I didn't see it when it happened, but if you were to watch for another 5 minutes after she basically moved on with her stream, you'd see she then did quickly thank me for the raid. If she was able to greet my raiders when the raid first happened, then why couldn't she have also said hi and thanked me then? I wasn't upset about this since it was just one raid. However, what wasn't linked in Nano's document was the second, more recent raid Red told Nano about from April 11, 2025, a day before he spoke to her about how Shylily was acting. 5 hours, 49 minutes, 28 seconds in to the video. Shylily didn't say hi or thank me for the raid like you'd expect your friend to do, or any streamer to do. She said hi to my raiders but didn't thank them either. She goes on to read one of my chat messages, but this was the second time Shylily had an off-putting reaction to me sending my community to her in the past couple of weeks. Coupled with removing herself from collabs I was a part of and ghosting my messages, the same day as this raid, Red saw Nano working on a new model for Shylily for the first time. He thought it could be connected to how she was acting towards me. In the past, Silvervale, who Red and I knew had a problem with me, purposely refused to say my name when I raided her, continually ghosted my messages, and got a model from Nano at a suspicious time, among other things, which will all be shown in her section. These specific experiences with someone else who we knew didn't like me further led both Red and I to believe that Shylily had something wrong with me for some reason. Now we'll talk about my raids to Shylily again when I go over the things she said herself. Screenshots from April 12th, 2025 at 9:29 p.m., which is about 10:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. The drama Nano's talking about in the next screenshot is specifically in regards to Silvervale after she canceled the model exclusivity deal. The only time Nano had ever said, what the freak? The drama Nano's talking about in the next screenshot is specifically in regards to Silvervale after she canceled the exclusivity deal. The only time Nano had ever said she didn't want to be involved in drama was around Silvervale. She never had a problem with Red gossiping to her about drama, and had no problem talking about the drama about Bao in January or about Shylily in April. The baseless claims being referred to here was me telling Nano people were still comparing us to this day, which was true and had affected me for years. I agree that I was guilt-tripping Nano with this message. I was upset that she went back on this deal because it was a last resort that could have ended one of the biggest direct comparisons people drew about me in Silver when she eventually got a new model from someone else. The outcome of this conversation and Nano's decision didn't change because of it, and we reached a mutual understanding. These screenshots below were 2 months before the conversation Red had with her about Shylily in February of 2025, when she told me about her canceling her agreement with Red. Screenshots from February 11th, 2025 at 5:18 p.m., which apparently is around 9:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. Her messages canceling the deal with Red the day before she messaged me were never shown in her document, justifying their behavior by stating that they are simply looking out for me. Once again, where is the message where either of us state that we are simply looking out for Nano? I justified my behavior with how I felt towards Silvervale because of the actions of her and her community towards me. When Nano came to me about how she felt and didn't want to be involved in drama around Silver, I was okay with it and didn't hold it against her. She didn't need to agree to the terms of the exclusivity deal if she didn't agree with Silvervale being included, but she did. And manipulating me into being grateful for earning well thanks to them, despite the loss of work from long-time returning clients and new clients. Nano was not manipulated to say what she said to me. There was no loss of work for Nano with Silvervale or any other clients due to mine or Red's actions. The reason why she ultimately went back on the deal she agreed to was because Silver approached her about a commission and Nano couldn't turn it down. Another example of going after other clients of mine from before, claiming that having more clients alongside them makes my work less special with the recurrence of "it's just business." Neither of us have gone after other clients of hers unless you count Red and Nano's negotiations about exclusivity. Here is what Red said about Nano's work being less special from November 2023, which was referred to in the screenshots in my DMs shown in Nano's document below. This is what he said, and there was no conversation further about it. It was the one and only time he brought up the value of Nano's model after other model other the it was the one and only time he brought up the value of Nano's model other than mentioning it once when negotiating their exclusivity deal in January 2025. As was explained before, the dishonest framing of "it's just business" by Nano's document was intentional. The conversation with the use of "it's just business" was from November of 2023. Nano clearly understood what we meant by it back then, for it to never have come up again until her document was written, manipulating me into believing that working with her is special for multiple reasons and that I risk losing that special something as a client if I prefer to work with others. I agree that me saying, "but if you prefer to work with other clients instead of me," was guilt-tripping her. I regret how I phrased this, but I already accepted her decision by my use of "it's just business" like Red had said to her the day before. Neither me or Red tried to change Nano's opinion or her decision, and she was not manipulated to change her position on what she wanted. We both agreed with her and accepted it. I thought that I wouldn't be a Nano model only VTuber anymore because of her not having a lot of time for my projects to keep up with my model cadence. I thought I'd have to find another model artist, which is why I reminisced about my first model with her. I told her it felt special to only have her model art for my outfits, and to let me know she wouldn't have time for me to only use her artwork for my models, not to be the one single VTuber with her model art. No acknowledgement of my reasoning and need of working with other clients due to the nature of my work solely focused on their issues. Here's what was said to Nano in both mine and Red's DMs with her during the situation. All of these messages are from the same conversation and appear in the screenshots from Nano's document below. However, they're separated among three topics the document covers. Red and I understood Nano's position and agreed with her. We didn't force her into anything or force her into thinking a certain way to her own detriment. Yes, Red spoke for me all the time to lots of different people because that's been his job as my manager, and I trusted him. But Red also spoke for himself and for the brand. No, we didn't always agree on our feelings or wants. There's been many times he's had to walk things back because I disagreed, or we've had to compromise on decisions. To assume that in every single instance for forever that we were 100% in agreement on things is crazy. There were a total of 2 times Nano had ever messaged me about her conversations with Red. This situation from 2023 and when she canceled the exclusivity deal in 2025. Like I pointed out when talking about "it's just business" in Nano's section, Nano's document presents my conversation with Nano from this situation before any of the context of Red's conversation with her that happened a day earlier, deceptively masking the context of my use of the phrase. Unless you were paying attention to the dates of the messages in Nano's document, you'd never know the timeline of events. Screenshot from November 26, 2023 at 1:03 p.m., which is about 5:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. Red tries to make it look... wrong one. In the full context of the conversation from the screenshots below, Red never said anything about Nano being exclusive to us or ever told her to only work on Cinder-related things. He never said every design was a Cinder clone because his reasoning wasn't about other models being Cinder clones. The messages in the screenshot happened in November of 2023, over a year before the exclusivity deal, but Nano's document doesn't point that out. Here is everything Red said that Nano took as him asking her to not work with anyone but me. He was confused in his message because he never asked her to do this or was somehow making her to do this. Red's full thought process behind Nano's work being less special and no longer unique was explained in her section, but he didn't explain his point of view to her. This was not a black and white issue, and Red and I could understand both sides of it, ultimately sympathizing and agreeing with Nano's perspective. Screenshots from November 25th, 2023 at 8:46 a.m. which is about 8:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of EST, Eastern Standard Time. Both mine and Red's use of "it's just business" or similar phrases were dishonestly misinterpreted and twisted to fit the idea that it was to somehow justify sabotaging others. Like I explained before, the phrase was used to accept Nano's decision in 2023, regardless of our feelings on that decision. If you were to actually read the screenshots that were presented in Nano's document right below this, you'd understand that in no way is Red using the phrase business is business to try and sabotage anyone. If you only look at my messages without the context of Red's conversation with Nano happening the day before, then it looks like I'm saying it's just business about Nano canceling models. That is not what I meant. I spoke to Red about his conversation with Nano before hearing from her, and my use of "it's just business" was in reference to what he said. Presented out of order, out of context, and if you're someone other than Nano who had an experience talking to Red and I back to back in this situation, you'd see my message to Nano and get the wrong idea. Nano's document purposely showed my message first, without any context before it, to manipulate the narrative. Screenshots from November 25th, 2023 at 9 a.m., which is about 9:24 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time, and continuing from the above. Making sure none of this reaches the other VTubers and is all kept hush-hush, while also providing proof that they know what they do is ill-intended and should not get out, as it would cause issues for Sinder's career to be painted in this light. The example shown in the next screenshot is after Nano cancelled Silvervale's model. Red did not ask her to make her do it or target Silver in any way. Obviously, he wouldn't want Nano to tell Silver it was my fault because it wasn't, or the fact they were talking about her at all. The only other time Red asked Nano to keep things between them about another VTuber was when they made their exclusivity deal, not only to keep what he said between them from the other VTubers, but to keep what he said and did against Bao from me too. Note that the uncalled shot at Silvervale is even spoilered a hidden message in Discord so it wouldn't accidentally be leaked. Pointing out and claiming a message was hidden so it wouldn't accidentally be leaked as the reason doesn't make any sense. Red fully trusted Nano to keep things private between them, not just this one censored message. Who else would that one message in Nano's DMs? Who else would that one message in Nano's DMs that was immediately buried be accidentally leaked to if it wasn't spoilered? Nano leaked that exact message here, and hiding did nothing to stop it from getting leaked after all. Screenshot from November 25th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m., which is about 9:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. Screenshot from November 19th, 2023 at 2:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. The constant obsession with VTuber... Oh, that's the screenshot. The constant obsession with Silvervale. There were a total of 3 major instances where Silver came up in Red's messages with Nano, 2 of which were in 2023, and the other in January of 2025, and in the aftermath of those cases were the only times Nano and I talked about her. My experience with Silvervale is explained in her section of this document. Claiming that she is asking for it by causing this unspoken competition, which is coming from absolutely no other source than Sinder herself. No other source other than Red. These are Red's words. He did not say she was asking for it, and sympathize with Silver's perspective. This exact screenshot is what's shown next to Nano's document. I did view Silver as competition, but not until 2024, which will be shown in her section. Screenshot from July 19th, 2023 at 11:46 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. Screenshot from July 19th, 2023 at 11:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is shown as 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. And the last image Nano presents below is from May 2023, where Red is talking about spite, not Silvervale, but it's never pointed out that this is about someone else or from a different time. This is all that was shown about Spite, and Nano's document didn't include anything about Red asking and Nano agreeing she wouldn't work with Spite for some reason, even though it helped Nano's case. A screenshot from May 10th, 2023 at 3:14 a.m., which is about 3:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. I'd like to highlight the irony of expecting to be entitled to recognition for her own efforts and size when her own active efforts are tied to sabotaging this very same VTuber. Me trying to gain Silver's recognition came far before there was any kind of effort to ever trying doing anything against her. They were not simultaneous, and a huge majority of the context around my relationship with Silvervale over the years was never explained to the public, including by myself in my apology. Also, feeling entitled and insisting to be recognized by someone else is odd. I didn't feel entitled to be recognized by her. I felt pressured to. On one hand, I was being harassed for being similar to her, and on the other hand, I was constantly asked to do things with her. If, at the bare minimum, we could get along on Twitter, it would have stopped the hate and satisfied the fans wanting us to interact. Similar to how another couple popular VTubers that had beef in the past publicly ended the feud between them, but Silver couldn't allow herself to do even that. I hope everything makes sense and everyone who has been hurt, manipulated, or sabotaged by her will find closure. I hope the events presented here make even more sense than they did before. Nano's message screenshots, manipulation, speculation. Another thing I'd like to point out is the fact that Nano's screenshots present in both her and Bao's documents were manipulated after Nano had already given them to Shylily and Bao, meaning that someone helped Nano cover up information and proving Nano did not originally present the screenshots to them this way. Here is one of the screenshots in Nano's document. The bottom is cut off. Here is the same screenshot from Bao's document. The image is in higher quality, the censorship is done differently, and the bottom where Nano says the deal was fair is present. Nano was the only one who could have had these screenshots from her DMs with Red to give to Bao to use. Even the timestamps of the DMs are the same. If Bao's document had the full screenshot, then that means Nano showed them the full screenshot, but at some point after showing Shylily, Bao, and my friends, it was decided to edit the screenshot in Nano's document to crop out her calling the deal fair, removing her guilt. Another example is of the image of Red's message about Cotton. In Nano's document, the message about Cotton is deliberately doctored out of the image as if it never existed. Nano, who had no relationship with Cotton and is on record saying she didn't care about her, would have had no reason to do this. But Bao's document shows the message and just censors Cotton's name. It also contains the message at the bottom, unlike the screenshot Nano's used. I'm unsure why Bao's own name is censored in the screenshot from her document. So if my friends knew what the full screenshot showed here, but they were manipulated in Nano's document before showing them to the public, then who did it? At the very least, I know that Nano's specific message calling their deal with Red fair was seen by Shylily, Bao, and my friends. My friends who were involved are not stupid. They wouldn't have done this to me if Nano didn't show them everything that happened first, right? I originally thought that, as my friends, they would have wanted to be fully informed in everything that happened before making their decision to cancel me. Unless the first person Nano contacted, the one who told Nano she was being manipulated to begin with, the one who contacted Bao for her, was backing all of her claims to them. I believe with Shylily already on her side, Nano lied to her about her experiences with us from the start to hide her own guilt and push it all onto us. How could she show Shylily what she did and said about one of her best friends, Bao? If Shylily was only shown the snippets of the DMs that Nano chose to show her, she wouldn't have cared what the full context was. Shylily saw what Red said about her, and that was enough for her to agree with whatever story Nano told her, with whatever little evidence was given for it. The rest of my friends could have just been told by Shylily and Nano what happened, and also weren't shown anything beyond Nano's cherry-picked screenshots, completely trusting in their story and jumping to conclusions because of their past experiences. Especially in Bao's case, who was right out of surgery, whose most trusted friends were telling her what happened, and posted her document 2 days later. Supporting the idea that they may not have seen everything is that no one tried to contact me about any of this, and may have been manipulated not to under the guise that I'd be the one to manipulate them. If they did, they would have heard a contradicting story. What was Nano's motive to leak messages to Shylily and to eventually post this document? Speculation. Everything that was posted was on top of Nano's claims, but if her story isn't true, she wasn't manipulated, and Red didn't lie to her. Then what was her motivation? Nano's manager, Akira, told Red that Nano wouldn't be working with us anymore due to artistic burnout, and for no other reason. Burnout is mentioned once in Nano's document, and she showed no signs of burnout in our conversations with her for 7 months. Since I was cancelled, she's continued to work on more than plenty of projects. It doesn't make sense as a motive. As can be seen from our DMs, Nano was always treated well by us, and was always excited to work on my projects, even right up to her last messages to us. Not wanting to work together wouldn't be her motive. Since working with Nano, my work alone has made her over $100,000, with about $60,000 of that being within the last year from when I was cancelled. Given that I was her most frequent client, she wouldn't have had a monetary reason to do this. Nano's reasoning behind many of her claims written in her document are contradictory to how she behaved for years and how she responded to situations when they happened. Those couldn't have been her motive. Nano only leaked her DMs with Red after he talked to her about Shylily. Why was that her turning point? If Nano had concerns about what Red was saying about Shylily, then why didn't she ask him for evidence? Why didn't she come to talk to me about it? Because she suspected Red, who's been on her side for years, of lying before she'd ever suspect the Shylily of any wrongdoing. I believe Nano was curious about the things Red said about Shylily and asked her about them. Shylily lied to Nano about her own actions and told her she was being manipulated by Red. If we're to believe that Nano was so easily manipulated by my manager in their casual conversation, then how likely is it that Nano could have been manipulated, used, or pressured by the biggest pissed off indie VTuber, Shylily, directly throughout this whole ordeal? Nano betrayed Red's trust in her after believing everything Shylily said and either willingly leaked more DMs to Shylily for her opinion, or Shylily asked Nano if there was more to see. There was no backing out now. She had to go along with the events that came next and carefully maneuvered her way to the best possible outcome for herself. Nothing from Nano's DMs could be made public without her cooperation, and her cooperation wouldn't make sense if she wasn't also a victim. Shylily, in lying to Nano, inadvertently gave her the excuse and support she needed to blame all of her actions on Red and I without ever having to show for it. Nano leaking messages, hiding the truth, and going along with the plan to post her document was about self-serving self-preservation in the eyes of Shylily, my friends, and the public, at the expense of people who supported her for years. Who wrote Nano's document? Speculation. I do not believe Nano wrote her own document, and whoever did manipulated the information Nano had and maliciously wrote about me. Nano then presented it to the public, and the real author kept their hands clean from any direct involvement. Nano's document states itself that she did not write it or put it together. This is further evidenced by the fact Nano's DMs are typed completely differently to how her document was written. Her document starts with Bao's involvement, not about herself, and not about what chronologically happened first. Nano is on record saying she didn't care about Bao. The message from Red about Cotton hurting one of our friends was cut out of the screenshot in Nano's document. Nano would have no reason to do this, and she's on the record saying she didn't care about Cotton. Nano had no prior relationship with her friend who was hurt either. The way Nano's document claims she felt about Red asking about her plans and gossiping with her contradicts years of her own behavior. Issues with situations over the past couple of years claimed in her document weren't a problem to her when they happened. Nano would have known exactly how the events presented played out and the full context behind them. She lied about them, and someone who was just using Nano's messages helped her to do it. They didn't care about the validity of the claims being made, only that they supported the greater narrative, purposely leaving out critical context and distorting the order of events. Only one screenshot of messages about Spite was included. Nano's document never mentioned Red asking her not to work with Spite, even though that seemingly would have helped her argument. The person who wrote it didn't know about it ever happening. However, I believe this wasn't included on purpose. Nano's document repeatedly uses the ampersand symbol throughout it, not just in section titles, but in the written text too 25 times. Not once in the years of working together has she ever used this symbol in either of her messages with her. And in my experience anywhere else, it's not commonly used. A dozen people, including Nano, Shylily, and Bao, were involved in the planning of these documents. Bao's document doesn't contain any use of ampersand, and I believe Bao wrote her document herself. However, Shylily's reply to my apology tweet using ampersand a total of 15 times in its writing. Did Shylily write Nano's document? Shylily was already giving me multiple signs that she had a problem with me before any of this happened, even saying on stream she always had a bad feeling about me. Shylily was involved from the very start, being the first person Nano told about Red's messages. Shylily was more than willing to lie about me herself, as you will see below. Shylily was the one who reached out to Bao for Nano, and most likely was the one to do the same with Cotton, Silverveil, and Spite. Nano's document starts with what happened with Bao, which would make sense if Shylily wrote it instead of Nano. The message about Cotton hurting a friend of ours is edited out of the screenshot of Red's DMs. Shylily is also close friends with that person and may have done this to keep them out of things. A link to the exact timestamp of one of my 2 raids into Shylily's stream that Red told Nano about just so happened to be included in our document in Shylily's defense, but not the incriminating one. Nano's document claimed manipulation when there wasn't any. Shylily was the one who told Nano she was being manipulated, and she was the only other person involved who pushed that claim to the public. Shylily started her reply to my apology with it, discrediting anything I said. The absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight is absolute insanity. My use of "it's just business" was dishonestly portrayed in Nano's document. Shylily used the phrase in her reply to me, was the only person who lied about the meaning behind it to the public, and made it into a meme at my expense. Nano's document says my friends platformed me when talking about competition. That is very specific wording. Shylily said something very similar in her reply to my apology. She also said very similar things on her stream. Nano's document. The competition they're referring to are people I thought they considered friends who always helped support it in platform Sinder. Shylily's reply. Everything you do is out of competition through your constant need to one-up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn from to begin with. Shylily stream. Oh, let me just platform that very same person that tried to deplatform me and all of my friends that helped her get there to begin with. Let me just continue to platform that one person that tried to backstab us when begging to be in our positions. These two quotes from Nano's document are also very similar to what Shylily said on her stream. Both were claiming manipulation, and Shylily specifically used the word problematic when describing someone Nano wouldn't want to work with. Nano's document. Spreading rumors and lies to make other clients appear problematic to manipulate any further decisions regarding commissions. Another example of speaking ill of other creators right after they say, I was working with Shylily, trying to once again make the idea of working with other clients seem like I am settling myself up with problematic people to get me to reconsider working with them. Shylily stream. It was about me being slandered, throwing all kinds of accusations around to Nano, making me seem problematic, weird, making me sound like a person someone wouldn't want to work with. Shylily implied she was directly involved in making the documents on her stream. I don't know where I was, but let me just say in this section that she dedicated to Cotton and me. She said, sorry for not having any knowledge of this, and that's where I kind of got mad because, like I said, a lot of the stuff that we posted about is only stuff we have hard-coded receipts for. Obviously, there is lots of experience that doesn't exist on paper, it's only private experience, but there is also more receipts, verifiable receipts that weren't added to the doc because either they are similar things that just only really become a problem when added up, or they were a little too private to be shared. They contain information that people just don't want to publicly have there, but it is kind of important for context, you know? So you pick and choose what you want to have up there. And most importantly, Nano's document is filled with the use of ampersand in its writing, just like and only like Shylily's own reply to me. It's fairly obvious to me that Nano conspired with Shylily to write her document for her, even if Nano lied to Shylily from the start. Shylily still helped Nano lie. Besides presenting everything in such a convoluted order, there were doctored screenshots in her document like I showed above. The same screenshots in Bao's document being uncropped and unedited shows that Bao was being honest with the information she was given, but Nano and Shylily weren't. Being the person who presumably wrote Nano's document, Shylily and Nano would have known exactly what I meant by "it's just business," but she was the one who lied the most about it. In Nano's document, in her reply to me, and on her stream. Interesting how she was able to connect my messages from that same conversation with Nano to how I must have known about what Red said in his DMs with her 2 years later, but somehow not the fact that my use of the phrase and its meaning came directly from what he said the day before. November 25th, 2023. November 26th, 2023. Breaking down Bao's document. Originally, I had gone through Bao's entire document pointing out the lies within it, but I no longer believe she and my other friends were lying. They were misinformed and were speaking from what they thought was true. Nano and Shylily lied to and manipulated them all to see the story their way. Bao was understandably hurt when she found out what happened and wasn't in a sound state of mind after her surgery. I'll only be going over parts of Bao's document with the context that she may not have had the full story from Nano or her side of the story, and pointing out her assumptions that weren't true. Just like in Nano's document, Bao's document presents things as if her model was only cancelled once in August 2024, even though Nano cancelled it a second time in her deal with Red in January 2025. I will address this down below. Bao's document for reference. I was hurt personally and professional by Sinder and her manager. Posted on April 26, 2025 at 1:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just like Nano's document, this was an assumption that they corroborated with each other, and Bao refers to Red's actions as both of ours in her document. This wasn't true, and no one could definitively say that in every single instance Red was just a surrogate for my thoughts and feelings. Red is an individual who can think, feel, and feel for himself. Bao shows 0 screenshots of my own DMs in her document. One of the only times Bao had first-hand experience of the way Red and I worked together was with the She-Wolf cover song. Bao messaged Red, not me, and Red didn't tell me all of the information when he asked me about it, or in the 3 days before Bao messaged me directly. Her own experience with us should have cast doubt on this claim. As I will show, Bao is clearly talking about her model being cancelled in August of 2024 here. After she finished both the design and base model sketch, there was suddenly back and forth on whether or not she had the physical and mental capacity to continue my model. Nano told Red herself that Bao's model hadn't been started yet. 2 weeks before canceling Bao's model, Nano told him she wanted to cancel models, asking him about canceling on Bao specifically, and telling him she wasn't the only one she was considering canceling. Bao saying there was a back and forth could imply that Nano approached her before August 5th when Red messaged Nano again, already saying she may not continue her model. In a private group chat that Sinder was a part of, I shared how devastated I was, and she did not comment or say anything, despite others in the group chat comforting and reassuring me. This was Bao's message she sent to our group chat when her model was cancelled on August 6th, 2024, which she also included in her tweet replying to my apology. I knew about this before Bao did. I feel guilty about it and didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I should have been a better friend and at least tried talking to Nano for her, but I didn't. If this was Nano's decision, like I was told, then I wasn't going to get involved. This claim is false. Bao would only have said this if Nano told her this was what was happening. Bao had reason to believe it too, with Nano telling her that her model was one of the ongoing commissions affected. Right after talking all about August 2024, when her model was cancelled the first time, Bao presents screenshots from January 15th, 2025, over 5 months later to explain why her model was cancelled in August. It is out of order and missing context as well. The screenshots Bao shows of Nano's DMs with Red are the same ones Nano uses in her document, including the time zone discrepancies I discussed. I will include the date and time of them in Eastern Standard Time like I did before, and as shown in the full context of these conversations in Nano's section of this document. Screenshot from January 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m., which is about 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. Like was shown above, Nano's messages calling the deal fair and asking for a demon figure were cut from the Like was shown above, Nano's messages calling the deal fair and asking for a demon figure were cut from this exact same screenshot in Nano's document, but are present in Bao's document. Here's what it looks like in Nano's document. Screenshot from January 15th, 2025 at 6:29 p.m., which is about 6:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. As I pointed out before, Bao's document shows the message about Cotton above, unlike Nano's. And just like in Nano's document, the following messages from Nano are missing entirely. This wasn't Bao's fault they were missing, it's all Nano gave her. Screenshot from January 15th, 2025 at 6:52 p.m., which is about 6:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 2 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. And again, the messages from Nano right after this are missing too. Nanoless asks Redacted on why he is encouraging her to not finish my model. This statement is false and it's not what happened, but Bao may have been told this was the case. This list above was how Red felt about Bao and his reasoning as to why he wanted to exclude her from working with Nano in his exclusivity deal in January 2025. But Bao, who only had the context Nano shared with her, applied these reasons to her model being cancelled in August 2024 to explain why Red manipulated Nano to cancel it then. While Red was looking to prevent Bao from working with Nano, which was wrong, he didn't even know Bao had a model planned with her again. When Nano told him about it, he backed off, followed by Nano asking if he was sure and for him to explain why to her. This is what Redacted lists as reasons why Nanoless should cancel her ongoing live 2D commission with me. Bao's model was cancelled in August 2024 after Nano told Red Bao's model wasn't started. And just like I showed before, Nano said here that she had Bao on her commission list, as in not ongoing. I do not believe Nano would cancel a project if she had any significant amount of work invested into it already. Friends do not sabotage other friends out of business opportunities. Friends do not spread lies to fuel selfish narratives. Friends do not use the private information they get from the privilege of being close friends just to use it to manipulate others. I've never done any of these things. My friends both knowingly and unknowingly sabotaged me out of innumerable business opportunities when they chose to make this public. Nanoless and Shylily spread lies about me to fuel their own selfish narratives to my friends and to the public. Nano used the private information Nano had in her messages with Red that she had from being close friends with him to use it to manipulate my friends and the public. Bao's model wasn't sabotaged by Red when it was originally cancelled in 2024. He didn't lie about anything he genuinely believed about her, and none of the 5 reasons Bao listed above or anything else Red said to Nano about Bao were private information or things he knew from the privilege of either of us being friends with her. After showing screenshots from January 2025, the next screenshot she presents is from August 2024, where she states it's another screenshot of Red urging Nano to cancel her model, as if from the same situation. The screenshot is from August 5th, 2024 at 3:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shown as 1 hour ahead of Eastern Standard Time. These are all Red's messages, not from them like Bao says. Nano wanted to cancel Bao's model, and Red reassured her about it. Red said, I remember her showing it to us at WeebCon without ever mentioning how excited Bao was about it when she showed us the design. In Nano's section, Red explained that he thought Nano should still be paid for the design work she did for Bao. The possibility of her starting shit was based on his own opinion of how she could react to the bad news from Nano. This screenshot of their DMs shown in Bao's document was not included in Nano's document. We were completely unaware Bao encouraged our video editor to take our exclusivity offer. This call apparently happened over a month before I was cancelled, over a month after Nano cancelled the deal with Red, and over 2 months since they first made it. Our video editor never told Red or I about this. The few times they asked for raises while working with me, I was more than happy to accommodate them every single time. Red pieced together the narrative he convinced himself of and told Nano, as was laid out in Bao's section. Bao was the one who spoke ill of her own song's performance in her public Discord server last year, and Red decided it was a contributing factor in what happened. It had nothing to do with the TMJ she's talking about, but I can see why she'd think it was. Her most vulnerable moments were not used against her. If you look at the timeline of events from Nano's document, I don't know how anyone can understand the timeline of events from Nano's document when everything was presented out of order and out of context. Some of those messages date back years. I found out about this less than 48 hours ago, and they did not give me common courtesy of talking to me privately about this over those years. This was not over years. The only times Nano and Red had meaningful conversations about Bao was at the end of July and early August 2024, and in January 2025. From the time Bao's document was written, the oldest of these messages would have been about 9 months old. The problem Red had with Bao was only in December 2024, about 4.5 months before her document was posted. Either one of us should have talked to Bao when we had the chance, and we didn't. My thoughts, feelings, my most vulnerable, darkest moments that I shared in confidence may have been used as information to ruin my chances to have the same VTuber model as someone I thought was my friend. None of the reasons Bao listed above, or anything else Red said to Nano about Bao, was private information, things she shared in confidence or had anything to do with her most vulnerable, darkest moments. Bao stream, April 27, 2025. Bao streamed the night after posting her tweet in response to my apology. Just like her document, I won't be going over everything Bao said on her stream, and many of the things she said were because she was convinced it was the truth. I'm choosing to believe she wasn't lying, but she was wrong. April 27, 2025. Bao's honest feelings about the Sinder situation on Bao the Whale VODs. 9 minutes 56 seconds to 10 minutes 56 seconds. Well, I don't know. I can't even remember what the conversation was like because I was just in such a state of... It was like I'm hearing what Lily and Nano are telling me, but it's like I cannot compute it. I just kind of remember seeing the screenshots. How much did Nano tell Bao, and how much did Shylily say for her? The screenshots Bao saw couldn't have been more than what Shylily saw. I believe Nano hid the full context of them from the start. 17 minutes 16 seconds to 20 minutes 16 seconds. In every scenario I try to wrap my head around what I would have done if I was in their shoes. I can't. Couldn't understand it. We have been through so much offline and online, and there is nothing more confusing and more painful than seeing someone in your friend group be so kind and so warm to everyone around you, and feeling that they have slowly become colder and colder towards you, and not knowing what you did or if it's your imagination. But because everyone loves them, you don't know if you want to say anything. And if you keep it to yourself and you keep hoping it's your imagination, but then the cruel realization hits that it wasn't, and it's even worse than you could have ever imagined. And you wonder why all those times where they talked over you or ignored you if you had done something wrong, and just kept asking myself, out of everyone in our friend group, why was it me? And like, what did I do differently? And for so long I was jealous of how warm they treated my friends, and I wondered why it just felt so different towards me. Reading everything confirming my worst fears was awful. Bao couldn't understand what happened because she didn't have the full context or ever know the motivations and reasoning behind it that was explained in our section. Red and I never talked to her when we should have, and I'm sorry to Bao for that. 23 minutes 59 seconds to 26 minutes 35 seconds. Everyone knows how special a VTuber's debut is. That is kind of the most important day of a VTuber's career, and all of the preparation and foresight needed to make it happen. No one tells you how stressful the project management is. No one tells you how to run a commission. All of the assets, all of the coordination with merch shops to have everything come out on the dot, making sure that at the same time you're planning everything, you are having it to advertise it. You look at a content creator online, and even though you are seeing one person on the screen, behind that one person is a really big team that they have to coordinate with. And that takes a lot of time. And when you are a VTuber and you have models and live 2D artists to work with, you know that they're booked out sometimes, years in advance. And to have a sudden cancellation like that happen so suddenly, right in the middle of everything happening, is so... I can't even begin to tell you how hard it is to pivot and to restructure how the rest of the next month or couple of months is going to go in order to fill up that space. Some VTubers plan this out years in advance. I'm not even joking. So to say I was devastated when my model was cancelled is kind of an understatement. I completely sympathize with what Bao said here, which is part of the reason why Nano was so important to Red and I as my model artist. 26 minutes 35 seconds to 28 minutes 12 seconds. I sat on that design for so long, and I was so heartbroken that I just deleted the tweet where I teased it. I couldn't even look at it anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's stupid. But if you're a VTuber, your model is what represents you, and you really have to fall in love with it because it's an extension of yourself. And so I had that model as my subathon goal, one of my top subathon goals for a while. And I showed it to everybody around me. I'm very used to very cute, dainty designs, and I wanted to see what it would feel like to have a sexier model. And ever since that happened, I thought about getting a different artist and keeping the design. But it felt like it wasn't the same. I didn't want an artist to just draw over the design, so I shelved it, and I hoped that maybe one day Nano would be free enough to take my commission. I told her that even if it was years from now, I would love to revisit the commission. Val said here that her model with Nano was shelved, and implied that it wasn't ever rescheduled again. 29 minutes 28 seconds to 30 minutes 25 seconds. There's so many ways to be competitive and still not hurt other people in the process, and I don't know, I feel like even when she was so much smaller than me and was just starting out, I still remember showing up calling her during a random stream and just making a little bit out of it. And I think I speak for all my friends, but we wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for each other. And I have always felt that way, that every success that each of us has is everyone's success. I was never competitive towards Bao in the same way I felt I was towards Silvervale. I agree with everything Bao said here, and I'll always be grateful to her and my friends for what they did for me, and proud of what I was able to do for them too. 31 minutes 56 seconds to 33 minutes 2 seconds. And that's the most fucked up part about it. It's like the whole time I was like, what did I do? What did I do? And why was I even considered a threat at all? I felt like she was so much more successful, and I felt like she had everything that I could ever dream of, and there was no need to kick the ladder down. There was no need. If Bao or any of my friends had come to us before making things public, they would have found out the motivations behind what Red did. Bao was never considered a threat. Someone put that idea into her head because it's not something ever said in Red's messages. 33 minutes 14 seconds to 33 minutes 52 seconds. How could you accuse me of being a thief when I spent 5 hours talking to our editor, telling him and reassuring him that I would never stop being his friend even if he took an exclusivity deal with you? And it would mean I would only have 2 editors for my channel. And that still did not stop me from considering your financial well-being and the success and growth of your channel. They could not even spare the same thought for me. Excuse me. Like I explained when going over Bao's document, our editor never told Red or I about this conversation with Bao. We had no idea it ever happened. Red was the one who had a problem with our editor working with Bao, and only after December 2024. Before that, it wasn't a problem for either of us, except initially, like I explained in Bao's section, Red's conversation with Nano about it was in January 2025, 2 months before Bao's conversation with our editor. 35 minutes 19 seconds to 36 minutes 37 seconds. you do know how many times I was told to put in my Google Doc the fact that you had a significant other, and no matter how many people told me to put it in and how stupid I would be to not put it in, I could not bring myself to put it in because I knew what that would do to your reputation, and you could not spare that same thought for me. It would have been so easy for me to prove that you had seen the messages, but I couldn't do it because in the end I still wouldn't do that to you, and so I wonder why you would do that to me. I appreciate Bao not putting my relationship in her document while under the pressure from Shylily and our other friends to do so, but I would never do that to anyone like she claimed I would. Red and I being in a relationship doesn't prove that I had seen all of his messages. My friends had no way of knowing that, or not just because we were together. However, if Nano lied about the alleged years of manipulation and abuse she suffered with us, then I can see why my friends wouldn't believe I didn't know about any of the things I actually didn't. But the story Nano told them isn't true. 37 minutes 29 seconds to 39 minutes 4 seconds. So I looked at, when I read your apology, I was just looking for some semblance of I just wanted to know if you would know what to say. I just wanted to know if you ever had thought of me as a close friend or if it was just one-sided or not, and I felt like I still didn't know by the end of reading your apology. That really fucking sucks. And now I just don't know what to think or what to believe in how easily I could have turned this into a personal vendetta, but I kept it strictly about the people and the clients that were affected and how their careers were put on pause because suddenly a month-long project was put on hold. And to pivot so suddenly, especially when so many VTuber debuts are tied around a holiday or a birthday or on dates that cannot be changed. When I wrote my apology, I was blindsided by what Reds did and said about her to Nano behind my back, and everyone thought it was my fault. I couldn't accurately explain everything that happened between Red and I over Bao with the pressure I was under, but I also felt I couldn't own up to the way I treated Bao and the role I played in making her feel the way she did without that context. I didn't know what to do, or what to say, or how to say it, so I said the bare minimum. Bao deserved better at the time, and I hope I can make it right now. Bao mentions that she kept her document about the people and clients that were affected. Was she talking about these clients? Bao wouldn't have known what really happened to their projects, but Nano did. 39 minutes 53 seconds to 40 minutes 34 seconds. Numi forgave you when you didn't come to her concert that you were planning with her for over half a year. I wonder if you knew how devastated she was and how in the middle of the year when I was so depressed and there were some days where I could not even bring myself to leave my bed, I still managed to fly 6 hours to New York to be there for her. Bao saying I didn't come to Numi's concert that I was planning with her for over half a year was the only thing she lied about on her stream. I'm choosing to believe this was just a mistake in the heat of the moment and not a deliberate lie. There was a portion of this section below talking about Numi's concert where I'll talk about this again. 40 minutes 52 seconds to 42 minutes 27 seconds. I feel like at every single pivotal moment where you had the choice to be a good person and a good friend, you chose not to be. And no matter how many times me and our friends try to wrap our heads around it and try to make sense of it, we can't. We can't because every single time we come to the realization that that's not what we would do if we cared. At some point, what are you even trying to one up? The only pivotal moments I can assume Bao was talking about here was with Numi's concert that she just spoke about, and possibly when I didn't say anything after her model was cancelled in August. Bao and the rest of my friends didn't understand because they didn't have the full story. I was never trying to one up any of my friends, including Bao. 45 minutes 34 seconds to 48 minutes 9 seconds. And even then, you're bound to get jealous as a content creator, but what you choose to do with that jealousy is what defines your character. You can either let it make you spiteful, or you can fuel it to forge your own success. That's me. Because when you're a streamer, yeah, you can share audiences with people, but at the end of the day, you are building your own community. You shouldn't focus on trying to take what other people have because it's not how you get it. That's what they made for themselves. I felt like, from my point of view, they were so much more further ahead than me than I could even imagine, and I got kicked down a ladder that I feel like I initially gave you. None of us would be where we are without each other. Jealousy didn't fuel anything Red or I did. Someone else was telling Bao that was the case. None of the evidence shows I or Red ever being jealous of anyone, because we weren't. I don't know what Bao is talking about when she implies I was taking other people's communities for myself, and I didn't kick down the ladder on her. In January, Red made a mistake that I didn't know about to stop it from happening. I agree, Bao was someone who was kind to a VTuber much smaller than her. Someone she had no obligation to show any kindness to, but she did. And so did the rest of my friends, and I'll always be thankful to them for it and everything they've done for me. 50 minutes, 50 seconds to 50 minutes, 55 seconds. You could not have had this go on for so long and not know about it. This wasn't going on, and not for as long as my friends were misled to believe by Nano. Any of the problems Red had with Bao only started in December 2024. If I were them, I can understand why it'd be unbelievable too. 52 minutes 37 seconds to 54 minutes 13 seconds. I feel like I was tasked with an impossible choice, and I hate it, but I had to be in the position where it had to be me to say something or no one else would. And it's not about whether or not I am right or wrong, but it's the fact that I didn't even want to be in this position to begin with. And I know that for so many people to be affected, that it was the right decision to do, but it really fucking sucks that I had to do it in the first place. I feel like I've been given that impossible task so many times already in my career. If I don't say something, then no one else will, and if I had a choice to not do it, then I would take it, but I know that would be the wrong choice. Just like Buff said, Bao had an impossible choice given to her by everyone involved. With the Fire VTuber that happened recently, a lot of us didn't say anything until the person who was affected said something. And we all went to said person and said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And they said, "I want to do this." And we said, "Okay girl, like you go do that and we'll be here to support it." I believe Bao made the best choice with the information she had, the state of mind she was in, and for all the people she was thinking about when making it. I forgive her for what she chose to do. What I don't understand is why the choice to make anything public was left up to Bao. Why didn't they look to Nano to say something when all of the evidence was from her DMs? Why was it Bao's responsibility to say something or no one else would? Why would they put that pressure on her in the state she was in? Speculation. Nano could have said she wouldn't make anything public without Bao. Nano knew her story was a lie all along. It couldn't stand on its own, so she wasn't going to say anything unless it was backed up by Bao. 55 minutes 1 second to 55 minutes 23 seconds. I just wish my apology had any semblance of evidence that you even knew me as a person, not just someone that you had to surpass. And when I read it, it felt like you didn't. Bao was never someone I needed. Bao was never someone I felt I needed to surpass. Someone else must have convinced her that was the case. I cared about Bao, but Bao was my friend that I wasn't treating like my friend for too long. I'm sorry I wasn't a better one to her when I needed to be. Why did Shylily have to contact Bao for Nano? Speculation. Shylily encouraged Nano to bring her DMs to the people affected, including Bao, but Shylily was the one who ended up reaching out to Bao. Why? I don't think Nano could confront Bao herself. Nano only showed Shylily the select screenshots of what happened in her DMs with Red over Bao's model, not the full context. The difference was that Shylily was already on her side after she told Nano she was being manipulated. If Nano went to Bao alone, Bao wouldn't have any of that pre-established context, meaning Nano would have had to explain what happened to her model by itself. Bao would have obviously wanted to see all the messages of it happening, and Nano would have incriminated herself. But if Shylily was the one to contact Bao for her, Shylily could explain Red's manipulation in the messages about herself first. Then Nano wouldn't need to show the full context of the messages about Bao and her model because Shylily was vouching for her. She just had to nod along. Bao wouldn't have doubted Shylily's word. Was Bao's model really cancelled a second time? Speculation. Throughout the document, I've been writing under the assumption that Bao's model was with that Bao's model with Nano was cancelled twice. First in August 2024 and second in January 2025. Nano told Red in January that Bao's model was on her commission list and went as far as to offer to cancel it a second time herself, eventually agreeing to do so in their deal. But Nano's document, which Shylily presumably wrote for her with the information Nano gave her in Bao's document, never mentioned her model ever being cancelled another time after August 2024. She said on stream that after her model was cancelled the first time, it was shelved. So I shelved it, and I hoped that maybe one day Nano would be free enough to take my commission. I told her that even if it was years from now, I would love to revisit the commission. Unless Bao was lying, I don't believe her model was ever officially rescheduled with Nano after August 2024, meaning it couldn't have been cancelled a second time. What I think happened is that when Bao's model was cancelled and she told Nano the above, Nano kept Bao's model on her commission list in something like an indefinite waitlist section unbeknownst to Bao. When Red approached Nano about their exclusivity deal and brought up Bao's name, Nano said it was on her list, not telling him the context of it being there. After encouraging Red to explain his reasoning to her, she offered to cancel Bao's model forever in exchange for us paying for our own model's rigging, which she'd discount from our next commission with her. Why would Nano have been so quick to offer to cancel Bao's model a second time when she didn't have the courage to do it the first time in August 2024? Because Nano didn't have to cancel it this time. She never had to confront Bao because the model was never rescheduled. Nano knew she wasn't accountable for Bao's model when she made Red her offer, but Red didn't know that. She used it to negotiate with Red to get what she wanted at Bao's expense, offering to cancel it for basically nothing. In making this deal, she just had him forever kick the model down the road, never making time for it, while Bao would forever cling on to hope that she would. Out of the messages I showed above, these were the only ones present in Nano's document. Nano never showed Bao. Shylily and my friends the messages where she and Red were talking about Bao's model in January. She never showed when it was first brought up, when Nano offered to cancel it, or when they made their agreement. Nano lied to my friends and told them she never made a deal with Red like it said in Nano's document, and they believed her. She never showed them it happening, and nothing happened to prove it did other than Nano's rigging getting paid for, including Bao's model never actually getting cancelled a second time. No matter what Red said to Nano in that conversation, no one that was named in their agreed upon deal suffered any losses due to it before it was cancelled. Did Nano even want to make Bao's model? Speculation. 1. In November of 2023, Nano was excited to do Bao's model before there was the design for it. All that was known was that it'd be a mommy model and it was planned for June 2024. 2. Bao showed Red and I the finished design for this model at WeebCon in March of 2024. 3. Bao's model was planned for June 2024, but by the end of July it hadn't even been started. Nano told Red she was considering canceling her model and he encouraged her to do what she thought was best for her. 4. Nano cancelled Bao's model at the start of August 2024. 5. Bao said in her stream on April 27, 2025 that her model was shelved after it was cancelled. So I shelved it and I hoped that maybe one day Nano would be free enough to take my commission. I told her that even if it was years from now, I would love to revisit the commission. 6. When negotiating a deal with Red in January 2025, Nano offered to cancel Bao's model forever in exchange for paying for her model's rigging that she'd discount from our next commission, essentially cancelling it for nothing. When she cancelled her deal with him after a month later, because she wanted to work with Silverbale, she told Red she didn't care about Bao. Nano was excited to work with Bao in November 2023, but after the design was made, she didn't want to make the actual model for it. I'm not going to say what that design was out of respect for Bao's plans, but it's plausible that it could have been a factor. Nano cancelled the model once, and without having to deal with the guilt of cancelling it a second time, offered to cancel it forever for her own benefit. Red coming to her in January was just an outside excuse for her to never have to actually do it, while getting something she wanted out of it at the same time. It doesn't sound like Nano wanted to make Bao's model no matter when or if she ever made time for it. Do you know what Nano specifically said she did want to work on? Shylily's response to my apology. Shylily's reply to my apology is what canceled. With over 8 million views, it's full of false accusations made without showing any evidence, and triggering language to turn people against me, painting me in as bad of a light as possible. The same way Nano's document was written. I'm willing to bet that most people just read Shylily's reply and nothing else. It's much easier to only read this than read my whole apology, and who wouldn't trust Shylily? Shylily's reply to my apology for reference. Posted after my apology on April 27, 2025 at 6:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight is absolute insanity. The first thing Shylily did was completely discredit anything I said in my apology as unbelievable, claiming it was all manipulation and gaslighting. No one was going to question her. She's Shylily. Shylily was involved in everything from the start, convinced Nano she was being manipulated, organized my friends against me, and evidently wrote Nano's document for her. The pain and mental torment you've caused to the ones closest and most supportive of you has been devastating, and I have never been so heartbroken and hurt so badly for my friends. Yes, I hurt Numi when I chose business over her concert, and I apologized, but I was still there at the show for her. I was a terrible friend to Bao, and should have talked to her instead of ignoring the problem with Red. I selfishly left Tricky behind in Japan when I wanted to make the most of my time there. I'm not innocent of ever hurting my friends. You are the fakest person I've ever had the displeasure of supporting, reading and hearing of how you've really viewed me behind my back, not just through screenshots of your man, but also your very own messages while having to sit here and read through these bullshit lies you spin makes me want to vomit. The only message I ever sent to anyone about how I viewed Shylily behind her back was about how I looked up to her as a role model and that once I became a part owner of Gamersubs, I felt pressured by no one other than myself to live up to the bar she set. This is what I thought, excuse me, this is what I said to Numi when apologizing to her about her concert, and wasn't a situation that was brought up by anyone before Shylily's reply to my already opposed it. This was what I said to Numi after. This is what. I can't talk. This was what I said to Numi when apologizing to her about her concert, and wasn't a situation that was brought up by anyone before Shylily's reply to my already posted apology. There! Red said he thought we'd have to start considering her competition if she was going to treat me differently for seemingly no reason, and was now working with our most valued artist. I didn't feel that way, and those weren't my words. To claim that you didn't know a single thing and had zero awareness of what your man was up to when everyone who's shared even a single moment with you knows that you basically operate as the same person, sharing every waking moment. I didn't say I didn't know a single thing Red ever did. I didn't know about the specifics of what happened in Red's conversations with Nano, and the other few instances shown in this document. He summarized things to me, but didn't tell me everything, and lied to me about their exclusivity deal. I didn't read his messages myself, and I didn't question what he told me because I trusted him. The only thing I lied about not knowing was about Red talking to Nano about spite. That was not to make the situation worse for myself. Shylily and my friends who corroborated that we operated the same person did not have any idea how Red and I worked together at home, or even the fact we lived together. The same way we didn't ever see us the same way they didn't ever see us argue or knew that I cheated on him in the past. Them blaming everything on me only works if it's to be believed we share every message, thought, and feeling, and before they're acted upon. While loving to jump at the slightest opportunity to turn into your most slanderous self as soon as the opportunity was given, even when talking about your friends, is sickening. I don't know what Shylily thinks she's referring to. I've never slandered any of my friends. What Red said in his own messages to Nano about Bao were his own opinions. As explained, Red didn't maliciously lie about anyone like Shylily did about me, and only said what he believed was true from his own experience. Red is his own person with his own thoughts, feelings, opinions, and experiences, but his own personal involvement in what happened was intentionally ignored to pin all the blame on me. I have experienced your own actions without Red, in a situation where in your own screenshotted words, you express a pressure to live up to what Lily is, and proceed to throw one of your most loyal supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning just because you consistently chose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them. Shylily brings up what happened with Numi's concert, something I had no idea I was expected to address, since it was already settled between us and wasn't related to any of the accusations made against me. I'm going to break this part down in pieces. I have experienced your own actions without Red in a situation where in your own screenshotted words you express a pressure to live up to what Lily is. Shylily did not experience this. This wasn't a private conversation between Numi and I. She said this was in my own screenshotted words, but there were never any screenshots of any of this situation made public. But she chose to address it publicly, and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning. I did not proceed to throw Numi under the bus. I said this while I was apologizing to her for the decision I made, ending with me trying to make my mistakes right by facing my fears and getting on stage, or rescheduling the collab I had with Shylily to be in her concert sooner. I did not make it to her concert, and I was there to support her. Whoa, I said that wrong. I did make it to her concert, and I was there to support her. What the freak? Man, reading for this long is starting to burn my brain. Shylily says months of continuous planning, but the first message of Numi trying to plan anything with me was to Red 2.5 weeks before I decided not to perform, and 5 weeks before the show itself. There was nothing planned beyond me being on stage because of my own hesitancy, not even having songs picked out. Bao also said this was being planned for over half a year, which may be true for the concert itself, but not me being involved. Just because you consistently chose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them. I did choose business over a friend when it was between VCard after my promotion to part owner and making it to Numi's concert, but I did feel bad about my decisions before I had even heard from Numi. My tweet is evidence of that. I was wrong and I apologized to her. I was still at her show supporting her. Me canceling my performance had nothing to do with business and everything to do with my own fears and insecurities. Just to earn the bag and compete with me over a V-Card collab that you rescheduled to be on the exact date your friend needed you to keep an important promise. Our collab had nothing to do with earning the bag. I had already earned plenty the day before on the actual launch day. It was about being responsible as a new part owner of the brand and representing them during a very important launch weekend alongside Shylily. If I wanted to compete with Shylily, then I wouldn't have asked to collab. Why would I have wanted to share the screen with her in that case? I wanted to collab to work together so her card game was as big of a success as we could make it for the entire company. I rescheduled our collab on that day, oblivious to my friend's event and my blind excitement for VCard, as I explained before. It was a mistake, and I had made another mistake choosing it over going to the concert, but the collab was rescheduled after I had already pulled out of the performance. I agreed to be in the show, but I never made a promise to Numi I would perform, or that I would be there, and Numi even told Red it was okay if I didn't do either. But it sounds a lot worse on me for Shylily to claim that I did break a promise to a friend over, for money. Agreeing to do something and making a promise to a friend have very different connotations, especially when making claims to the public without any evidence. You actively lied about it to them, instead blaming me for a collab you rescheduled, adding me to the pool of excuses to save your ass. When you realized you were being a bad friend, why blame me for choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to on one of the most important days on that friend's career? Shylily said I blamed her for missing an obligation I agreed to. No, what I agreed to was to perform, and I didn't perform because of my own reasons. Not going to the concert is what she's talking about, which by Numi's own words, I wasn't obligated to go to. I didn't lie to Numi, and didn't blame Shylily, and the fact she thinks I did points out the importance she gives herself when it wasn't about her. She made my apology to Numi about her when it wasn't. I took accountability for what I did and apologized to my friend, and still made it to her show after our collab. When I made the decision not to go to Numi's concert, I told her I felt obligated to be around for VCard's launch weekend as a partial Gamer Subs owner now. My collab with Shylily was planned for that day, but even if that wasn't happening, my choice would have likely been the same. When I apologized to her, I told her I felt pressure to live up to what Shylily is for Gamer Subs, and the VTuber community now that I had the same position. I wasn't blaming Shylily, it was about my new position as part owner. Shylily was the only example to follow in the footsteps of, and she set the bar I felt I needed to hold myself to for the company. I then told Numi that I made plans to collab with Shylily the day after VCard's launch day, and that I planned it as early in the day as possible to make it to her show. I should have been more clear when I said that. I didn't really know how to tell Shylily no. As I explained in the VCard section of this document, this was not at all me blaming Shylily for the collab I planned with her, or that it was the main reason I made the choice I did. I said I shouldn't have thought to put a product launch over my friend's once-in-a-lifetime event, because my decision wasn't solely about the collab with Shylily or trying to blame her for it. My decision was because it was VCard's launch weekend. Everything you do is out of competition through your constant need to one-up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn from to begin with. You're welcome, by the way. I, myself, only viewed one person as competition. It wasn't Shylily, and it wasn't any of my friends. And yes, my friends have helped me along the way, some a lot more than others that I should have been more grateful towards, and we all grew together. But I don't owe every single thing I have to them, and I especially don't owe anything to Shylily. Her saying, "You're welcome, by the way," comes off as extremely narcissistic, as if she had any major impact on where I am and what I've accomplished, and expects credit for it. Other than the few collabs we had, most of which were on my stream, and a Skeb she agreed to let me get, I have no idea what she could be talking about. As far as she said, she's always had a bad feeling about me, making it seem like the few things we did do together, she begrudgingly agreed to in the first place. You claim that it's just business. Well, in the business world there has to be accountability, and all you've done is try to shove it away and admit to nothing. Shylily purposely misconstrued my "it's just business" quote into something to attack me with, just like in Nano's document. In the actual context of the situation where this quote comes from, I meant it to accept whatever decision Nano chose for herself, regardless of how I feel about it. Because in the end, it's just business. If you actually read my apology, you'd see that I admitted to more than nothing like she claims here. I just didn't admit to the things I didn't do. In true narcissistic fashion, you're the only. Well, in true narcissistic fashion, you're only feeling sorry about yourself and your own consequences and your career and try to salvage it. Again, if you actually read my apology, you'd see that I apologize and take accountability for the things I did do. Shylily is the only person who made the claim I was narcissistic, and given her actions before and after this, it really seems like projection. I'm sorry for everyone who looked up to you as an inspiration, and I'm especially sorry for your fans. Pyropups deserve better. If how Shylily handled everything and what she did to me is what's supposed to be better than what I was to the Pyropups, then it's not my community I'd feel sorry for. Shylily's stream on April 28th, 2025. Shylily didn't hold back at all on her stream, telling her viewers how she really felt about me. She went full mask off and convinced the public it was completely justified, mockingly saying it's all just business. If it wasn't evident by her tweet, you'll see from her stream that Shylily is not a reliable or trustworthy narrator. April 28th, 2025. VOD. Back to business. We cooking more drugs today, or maybe try Oblivion on Shylily VOD. 10 minutes 42 seconds into 10 minutes 48 seconds. The business eye should be green with a dollar sign. Yeah, but, or maybe like a little knife. Sorry, this is going to be my way of coping with this. You are going to just have to sit through this. They're going to have to sit through these very distasteful comments. It's strictly business. Throughout her stream, Shylily justifies her petty jabs at me as her way of coping. Just like her tweet, she continually makes fun of the phrase, "it's just business." She wants the... Excuse me. She was the one who purposely lied about what I meant by it to make it look bad on me. 11 minutes 5 seconds into 11 minutes 21 seconds. You don't have to give me biddies and shmoney to make me feel better. We're not like that in here. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but like, coping, okay? Coping. Petty. 19 minutes 58 seconds into 20 minutes 6 seconds. I don't know what you're talking about. We're just going to be back on business tonight. It's just business as usual. Petty. 22 minutes 11 seconds to 22 minutes 57 seconds. I also just saw someone feeling bad for taking the apology seriously and feeling dumb about it. I'm going to be honest, okay? I'm having a hard time being upset with anyone who still trusts and forgives her because, and I say this in all honesty, the reason it worked for so long is because her words are as sweet as butter, and chances are you're probably simply just as easily manipulated as everyone else. If you read all of these things and you see nothing wrong with it, give it a few years. Experience will show you what the fuck is behind those messages. Shylily continues to discredit anything I said in my apology, manipulating the audience to see things her way. You're probably simply just as easily manipulated as everyone else if you don't. 24 minutes 6 seconds to 24 minutes 51. The only night that was difficult was the first night after dropping the first doc. The first Google Docky. Sorry, that was the only tough night. That was the only tough one. It was 10 a.m. I had to go to bed, and just being scared of what the heck a literal manipulator could possibly come up with overnight, and what a shit show you could possibly wake up to when they have a platform they use to manipulate hundreds of thousands of people with. Shylily was terrified about how I could manipulate my way out of this, which is why I believe the documents were posted when they were, so I wouldn't be able to respond. 25 minutes 32 seconds to 25 minutes 42 seconds. It's literally just hearsay. The entire apology, and worst of all, throughout this whole hearsay, it's full of bullshit. Shylily doesn't know what hearsay is. One's personal account is not hearsay. You've already seen the bullshit put out against me in Nano's document, and by the end of Shylily's stream, you'll see more. 27 minutes 45 seconds to 28 minutes 5 seconds. It's been a week, hasn't it? I'm sorry I'm laughing. I'm actually really sad, but it's how I cope. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to tell you. If you don't understand, this might sound too fucked up and psychotic, but I just need to laugh. Let me cope. Shylily was gleeful over my cancellation. 32 minutes 30 seconds to 33 minutes 48 seconds. I highly suggest you check it out yourself. Everything that is publicly available is through receipts. Needlessly to say, more stuff has happened. Needlessly to say, but most of those things don't have receipts, or the receipts have personal private stuff attached to it you just can't share. Some of the stuff we might talk about today is hearsay because that's just my own experience that happened in person. It's my word against whoever else wants to challenge it, and that's okay, but we made sure and we all agree that everything we put online will only be receipts. Only receipts that we have, nothing else. No emotions, no experiences, no hearsay, no nothing. Only receipts. So obviously there's more. There is more receipts too, but those contain info that's just, it contains sensitive stuff about others themselves or even the criminal herself. If more proof of their claims wasn't shown due to it containing personal info like Shylily said, I have no idea what it'd be if not what's already been shown and censored in this document. I didn't seem to have that problem putting my evidence together. She may be talking about my messages with Numi, and maybe Numi didn't want that to be made public, or Shylily is giving a bullshit reason why the full context of Nano's messages weren't shown, and the evidence she claims to have doesn't exist. Shylily also calls me a criminal in another petty insult. 45 minutes, 7 seconds to 46 minutes, 8 seconds. God, that. Oh, what she said that, and when she tried to bring me onto. Okay, I know when she said that, and she tried to make this thing with me, and we were doing a collab, and she was just like, oh, the Charizard and Blastoise of VCard doing the. Oh, like, how dare you sit there and pretend to be some box legendary of something that you didn't create? Disgusting. Trust me, we all cringed, but people sometimes get excited, and they do cringe-worthy stuff. There was a lot of animosity behind Shylily's words here. Why? 47 minutes, 8 seconds to 47 minutes, 53 seconds. It is typical narcissistic manipulation of fashion. Like this whole document. Like I said, if you don't see it that way, I don't blame you. Chances are you're too young and naive. You're just as gullible and easy to manipulate. If you don't see it, I fully get it. I don't support it. I hope you'll eventually see it, but it's typical. I take accountability for nothing. I shoved the blame over to my man. I knew nothing. Everything was behind my back. I'm sorry you feel this way. Like, come on. Shylily manipulated her audience to her side, basically calling them stupid if they don't see things her way. 48 minutes 1 second to 48 minutes 29 seconds. Companies don't want to have bad PR. You know, and it's just business fashion. When a company has an employee fuck up, guess what? The company has to take action because of the employee. The company has to pay damages and make amends for the employee. It's just business, is what our good old little friend Snake would say. Petty. 49 minutes to 49 minutes 12 seconds. You burned your Sinder merch? Honestly, if I can't encourage you, you paid for it. You do what the fuck you want. But if I can encourage you to do something, donate it. Okay, but again, you do what you want to do. If that's how you cope with this, that's also okay. But two things, not to defend anything of what she's done, if you're just a viewer. I cannot talk. You don't have to atone for someone's sins and feel bad about the good times you've had. Whether they were fake or not doesn't matter. You had a good time. Those are your memories to keep, you know? But on top of that, again, if you cope by burning your merch, I ain't judging. You cope the way you want to cope. I cope through memes and making fun of things. That also isn't fucking perfect. But if you have it in you and you can cope with it, try and donate everything you've got. Any shirt, sweater, figurine, plush, whatever the fuck it is, just donate it. Shylily encourages viewers to donate any merch of mine they may have, but doesn't disavow burning it either. 53 minutes 5 seconds to 53 minutes 37 seconds. The thing with the no drama rule is every time you have rules like this, there is a line that cannot be crossed, because once that line is crossed, it's fair game. And based on people's reaction, I don't think anyone blames me for getting involved and speaking up and strongly speaking about it. Once a certain line is crossed, it's fair fucking game. I don't give a fuck what kind of rules or morals I've got, it's fair fucking game. 53 minutes 37 seconds. Lily is rated and reacts exactly how you'd expect. Hour 2 minutes 46 seconds to an hour 3 minutes 30 seconds. It's when the dominoes fell. The dominoes fell. The actual starting point, the dominoes fell when one thing leaked. One singular thing, like 5 or so days ago. One thing leaked. A singular thing. And I go, it was about me being slandered, throwing all kinds of accusations around the Nano, making me seem problematic, weird, making me sound like a person someone wouldn't want to work with, because who does those things? One thing did not leak 5 or so days ago. By what Bao said, Shylily messaged her on Friday, April 18th, about what Nano told her. 5 days before the stream was Wednesday, April 23rd, when Bao was brought into things after her surgery. As the timeline at the top of this page shows, one thing leaked. 2 weeks before this. Shylily knew about this for 2 weeks by the time of her stream, and in that time never said anything to me. The things Red said weren't slander, and below you'll see Shylily admit that herself. Hour 3 minutes 30 seconds to an hour 5 minutes 9 seconds. They were saying I dodged collabs with them, collabs that had like 7 other people in there, collabs I was thrown into in a big ass group chat, and simply said, sorry, can't do, I have something that day. One of them was a dentist thing. I didn't have it on that specific day, but I just didn't want to. The day after the dentist, I just simply didn't fucking want to. And the other one, yeah, I dodged. Yeah, I did. Yeah, okay. Yeah, one of them I did because the one I already knew. And the other one, yes, I dodged. But you know what's weird? The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concerned as to why I'm dodging. What about the 6 other people who were just looking at me dodging and going, oh, okay, she's busy? It's kind of weird that the only person that has a reason to be weary was actually weary. What about the 6 other people that I also just left hanging where I said, sorry, I'm busy? They just took it and they were like, okay, we'll just replace someone else, cool. You know, yeah, we'll just play someone else, cool. You know, it's called projection because she fucking knew. She knew. So anyways, I was accused of dodging, which somewhat fairly I did do once. Shylily starts by talking about dodging collabs. Here's what Red said. The one and only collab she can be talking about here was the repo collab that happened on March 21st, 2025. Here are the first messages of that collab being planned. It was originally going to be on March 15th, 2025. Shylily said she was available. One of our friends couldn't make the March 15th date for the collab, and because we wanted to include everyone, the collab was scheduled to March 21st. Shylily said she was free again. On stream, Shylily said she had something that day. She dodged the collab, and it was a dentist appointment. But then says she didn't have the appointment on the day of the collab, but the day after the dentist, she didn't want a collab. Well, here's Shylily's tweet about her dentist appointment from March 8th, 2025. That's not March 15th or March 21st. So then, before anything else, Shylily said, and the other one, yeah, I dodged. Yeah, I did, okay. Yeah, one of them I did because that one I already knew, and the other one, yes, I dodged. She said she dodged one collab with the excuse that she already knew, and another collab just because. So, what Red said about dodging collabs wasn't slander like she lied about. The other collab I believe she's referring to is this one that never happened from March 27th, 2025 that was shown in Shylily's section. So if one collab was dodged on March 21st, and the other collab being planned on March 27th was dodged, how could Shylily use the excuse that she already knew what happened between Nano and Red from their conversation on April 12th? But this is what she said next. But you know what's weird? The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concerned as to why I'm dodging. What about the 6 other people who were just looking at me dodging going, oh, okay, she's busy? It's kind of weird that the only person that has a reason to be weary was actually weary. What about the 6 other people that I also just left hanging where I said, sorry, I'm busy? They just took it and they were like, okay, we'll just replace someone else, cool. You know, it's called projection because she knew. She knew. The only collab Shylily could be talking about here is the repo collab from March 21st. First, let me address why she thinks I was concerned and weary. The day of the collab, we were told Shylily wasn't going to make it because of a Bikini Bottoms collab she had that day. Because we rescheduled this collab once for another friend, I thought we were going to reschedule again for Shylily so she could play with us, that's all. So far, she's said this collab was dodged because of a dentist appointment when it was the day after a dentist appointment, so she didn't feel like it. Then it was because she already knew what happened over 2 weeks in the future somehow, when in reality it was because of a Bikini Bottoms collab that day. But did she dodge because of the Bikini Bottoms collab that day? No. It's true that Shylily had a Bikini Bottoms collab that day, but that was only at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our Repo collab was at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and lasted about 3 hours. Shylily would have been able to do both. Okay, but maybe she didn't want to stream that long? Shylily started her stream that day at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just chatting for 3 hours until her Bikini Bottoms collab while the rest of us played Repo without her. Here's the VOD of Shylily's stream, with Bikini Bottoms starting about 3 hours in. VOD. Bikini Bottoms tonight, Chibi and chill until then, March 21st, 2025, on Shylily VOD. She could have played with us, but she dodged. Why? I believe it was because Shylily already had something against me unrelated to anything to do with Nano, and didn't want to platform me on her stream. The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concerned as to why I'm dodging. Shylily dodged at least 2 collabs with me. Red did not lie to Nano, and Shylily lied to everyone saying it was slander. She admitted to it herself on stream. So anyways, I was accused of dodging, which, somewhat fairly, I did do once. Hour 5 minutes 9 seconds to an hour 6 minutes 32 seconds. Anyways, I was accused of not acknowledging her when she raids and like, oh, sorry, you know when Buffs raided me earlier, I'm sorry for not calling Buff's full government Twitch.tv name. BuffPupper of Twitch.tv, thank you so much for your raid and bring your community from BuffPup from Twitch.tv over here. Like, now I get to say it when she's raided, she is center stage. I am pausing my sponsor to talk to her. Like I'm having a normal reaction to a raid like I have with everyone. Oh, sorry, I didn't say of Vichiban. Sorry. Buff Putt from Twitch.tv of Vichiban. There we go. My bad, my bad. Sorry, can't make mistakes like that. I don't want to be a snake, you know. Got to get the full government name out there because apparently people don't feel graced. Otherwise, people don't feel like they did a good job rating you. Like, damn, I'm sorry. Next, Shylily talks about the times I rated her and made a petty joke out of it. Here's what Red said. Here are those 2 raids to Shylily. March 30th, 2025, Shylily greeted the raiders and didn't say hi or thank me for the raid at 6 hours, 52 minutes, and 52 seconds in. VOD, overslept zzzz, but it's okay. I'm awake now, sort of. March 30th, 2025, on Shylily VOD. April 11th, 2025, again, Shylily greeted the raiders and didn't say hi or thank me for the raid. 5 hours, 49 minutes, 28 seconds in to the video, VOD, pulling Castress my queen, finally catching up in HSR, April 11th, 2025, on Shylily VOD. The first thing she said was, like, now I get to say it, when she rated she is Center Sage. I am pausing my sponsor to talk to her. At the start of both of these raids, Shylily said both of her sponsorships had already ended. March 30th, 2025, 6 hours, 53 minutes, 20 seconds in. We were sponsored, but the game was really fun, so I just kept playing. April 11th, 2025, 5 hours, 49 minutes, 55 seconds in. We had a sponsor earlier. Oh, we do? No, we don't have a sponsor anymore. Turns out she didn't have to pause her sponsor to talk to me, as if that was her excuse to not say hi and thank me for sending her my community. Then she said, like, I'm having a normal ass reaction to a raid like I have with everyone. So what is a normal reaction to a raid from Shylily? Here are a bunch of raids Shylily received in the same time frame my 2 raids were. You can see how she reacted to them compared to mine. April 2nd, 2025, 4 hours, 2 minutes, 51 seconds in. April 5th, 2025, hour 58 minutes, 22 seconds in. This raid happened while Shylily was in the middle of a sponsored segment. April 6th, 2025, 2 hours, 14 minutes, 31 seconds in. April 12th, 2025, hour 46 minutes, 9 seconds in. April 13th, 2025, 11 minutes, 38 seconds in, 22 minutes, 26 seconds in, 25 minutes, 43 seconds in, 5 hour, 57 minutes, 15 seconds in. April 15th, 2025, 4 hours, 52 minutes, 31 seconds in. There is a straightforward way Shylily thanks raids the same way any streamer does. It's more or less a variation of blank, thank you for the raid. So why were my raids different unless she had a problem with me? Even for my raid on March 30th, 2025, it's like Shylily had to catch herself from how she'd normally greet a raid and then chose not to greet me or thank me. Only later does she do so, catching herself again. This was not about some kind of narcissistic entitlement or feeling graced by her for not using my 2-syllable full government Twitch.tv name Sinder. There was a clear difference from how she treated me from other raiders. Unless you genuinely miss it or are unable to, I believe you should thank someone for raiding your stream. It's common courtesy. Red wasn't slandering Shylily to Nano about this, and Shylily lied about it. Just as an example, here's how Shylily would react to my raids in the past. This one being from the start of the year on January 4th, 2025. 6 hours, 16 minutes, 6 seconds in. VOD, Shylily Subnautica Marathon D2 Part 2, January 4th, 2025, on the YouTube channel Shylily VOD. And this one from last year on November 20th, 2024. 4 hours, 10 minutes, 42 seconds into the VOD, Shylily Cup-a-thon Day 6 Part 2, November 20th, 2024, on the YouTube channel Shylily VOD. And here are the messages she sent me after this raid. I in no way expected something like this every time I raided Shylily or anyone else. Hour 6 minutes 39 seconds in to an hour 6 minutes 53 seconds in. Them saying I've been weird ever since VCard, which also isn't true. We've literally done a collab ever since. We've talked ever since. I contacted her for a technical issue that you guys said she also had ever since. The last collab Shylily and I were in together was on February 5th, 2025, 4 days after our VCard collab when the game launched. The only times we talked after that was when she turned me down for a collab on March 3rd, 2025, messaged me because she needed my help on March 11th, 2025, and then in the group chat for the repo collab she dodged. That's it. To say this generalized claim from Red was an issue is ridiculous. Hour 6 minutes 52 seconds in to an hour 7 minutes 34 seconds. It's just, you know, just a bunch of stuff that makes me sound weird and competitive when, again, reflecting, that one screenshot started it all, and that was from, at that point, a few days ago. That one screenshot, that one, and I was like, that's fucked up, and I gave Nano the receipts of it's not true. I did say, oh, I did ghost her in the DM once. I didn't see the DM, but somehow before Nano worked on my 3.0 model, that wasn't a problem. That bunch of stuff was all true. So does that mean Shylily was weird and competitive towards me? Shylily said that screenshot of Red's DMs that started it all were from at that point a few days ago, so not 5 or so days ago like she claimed earlier. Shylily said she gave Nano the receipts of "it's not true." I don't know what she would have shown Nano to convince her Red was lying to her about these things since they were all true, but she did somehow. Shylily said she ghosted my DM once and that she didn't see it, saying it wasn't a problem before Nano worked on her new model. Once again, admitting to something that Red said she was doing, and she lied to everyone saying it was slander. Her ghosting me was a problem before Nano was working on her 3.0 model. That's why Red told Nano about it. Like I said in Shylily's section, there wouldn't have been any reason for Red to suspect Shylily getting a model from Nano if at the same time she wasn't ghosting me amongst all the other things she was doing. From the first message she ghosted to when she talked to Nano about Red was 17 days, and I had sent her 3 messages in that time. Hour 7 minutes 34 seconds to an hour 8 minutes 19 seconds. Everyone who is in contact with me, anyone who is close, even my viewers, everyone knows I suck at Discord. I'm very distant, I'm very messy, I don't check often, I'm not very thorough. So, and she knows that too because it happened last year as well. She knows it too. It's why we have a group chat with her and Boska and me in it. So she wants to plan something. Hello? So she wants to plan something, she knows where to go, and she has used it in the past recently for VCards and stuff. I had no problems communicating directly with Shylily on Discord for almost 6 months to talk and plan things. Not going through Boska at all. And then all of a sudden, there was a problem? The VCards and stuff she claims were through our group chat with him is a lie. I planned our VCard collab directly with Shylily in our DMs that you read through entirely in that section. Hour 8 minutes 28 seconds to an hour 9 minutes. You don't know every message I send on your behalf, obviously. Oh yeah, I forgot. Boska operates completely independent, and I have absolutely no knowledge of anything ever happening ever. I just want this to be public knowledge, so if I get cancelled, I can throw him under the bus. Even when there is screenshots proving that I clearly am aware, and am confirming and doubling down and siding with him. I just want you guys to know. Petty. Hour 9 minutes 7 seconds to hour 9 minutes 40 seconds. So anyways, yes, I am guilty of dodging a collab because I simply didn't fucking feel like it. And yes, I'm guilty of ghosting 2 messages where she asked for a collab, which by the way, she also only does when there is something business related. AFK drop, VCard drop, any event, any debut, any announcement, any merch. Then I'm important. Then we can network. Shylily again admits to dodging a collab, this time settling on the "didn't fucking feel like it" excuse. Now, she said she's guilty of ghosting 2 of my messages, not 1, like she just said. Shylily claims I only asked for collabs when there's something business-related involved, as if I was trying to profit off of her presence. She should know that claim is bullshit, since one of the last times she responded to me was when I asked her to play Split Fiction on March 3rd, 2025, completely removed from any new drops or debuts. But let's look at the other times I asked her to collab too. I explained my motivations for these 2 collabs in Shylily's section. She ghosted them. On April 4th, 2025, I had my Sleepy model debut and AFK merch drop. That had nothing to do with wanting to collab with her for either of these. The VCard collab on February 1st, 2025 was explained in that section of this document. Yes, it was obviously a business-motivated collab, but I also wanted to get to know Shylily better over something I thought we'd both be excited about. Besides these, there were 2 other times I had ever asked Shylily to collab, once in 2023 and once in 2024. That's it. I didn't know Shylily super well and always assumed she was really busy. I had to go through Boska to plan with her, and never wanted to bother her. In both cases, it took weeks, if not months, to actually make plans. The first time I asked to collab was right after seeing her at TwitchCon in Paris in 2023, which I just so happened to have my Demon model debut already planned for right after my trip, and it had nothing to do with asking Shylily to do something together. July 13th, 2023. July 22nd, 2023. I messaged Boska since Shylily didn't respond. My Demon model debut was on July 15th, 2025, and this collab was on August 30th, 2023. Whoa, my Demon model debut was on July 15th, 2023, and this collab was on August 30th, 2023. August 30th, 2023. Can Shylily and I climb a mountain, Bread and Fred? The second time I asked to collab was for my anniversary subathon in June 2024, since I was asking friends to come on my stream for it. She wasn't able to, so I asked to plan something for July instead. After not hearing back for a month, I messaged again asking about a Nikkei collab at the end of August after my bikini model debut was planned. Shylily had been using her nude bikini model all year, and was the only one of my VTuber friends who was really into Nikkei like me. What better way to do this Nikkei collab but in bikinis together? My bikini model debut was on August 16th, 2024, and this collab was on September 5th, 2024. September 5th, 2024. Sinder and Shylily rank Nikkei girls. hour 9 minutes 47 seconds to hour 10 minutes 2 seconds. So I am guilty of that, but like I said, I would like to excuse myself from those two sins because she knows better. It's been a thing last year, and last year wasn't a problem. Only until Nano worked on me, it was a problem. So, on her very first stream after I was cancelled, Shylily admitted to ghosting me, admitted to dodging collabs with me, and made a joke out of me raiding her. The reason any of this happened was because Shylily lied and told Nano Red was slandering her, and she was being manipulated by him. Then, Nano's document repeated the things he said about Shylily were lies and slander. Well, all of those slanderous lies were true. I showed they were true, Shylily herself admitted they were true, and here we are. So, why did she lie about them? Shylily said she'd like to excuse herself from those two sins she admitted to, and then she blamed her actions on me because I should have known better. Taking no accountability, deflecting, narcissistic manipulation, all of the things Shylily projected onto me? Hour 10 minutes 2 seconds to hour 11 minutes 28 seconds. Anyways, long story short, that was the one message that got everything rolling because I explained how that's weird, that's cringe, and manipulative to do and bother Nano with. If she has a problem, why not come to me? And boy, that's where it started. That's where poor Nano realized that there is more such incidents, and if this is weird, she has critical thinking. And she's like, if this is weird, are the others also weird? The ones where she literally, on the screenshots, says she feels bad for doing all these things she's being asked to do? That's where it started. And obviously, me being a friend, I talked to Nano, and I was like, Nano, I'm going to be honest, some of the stuff you have here is heartbreaking. I'm thankful for you showing this to me, but I highly encourage you to share this with the people affected, especially Bao. Because, you know, that one nasty one where she sabotages Bao, especially that one. And Nano, the fucking Giga Chat agreed, she agreed. Shylily makes a point that I should have just talked to her, not go to Nano, but I didn't go to Nano. Red did. As much as Shylily wanted to push the idea, Red and I are not the same person. When I was ready to confront Shylily about what was going on, I did. She never responded because she was already in the middle of organizing my cancellation. Did poor Nano realize there were more incidents, or did Shylily ask her if there were more? And what did Red ask Nano to do that she supposedly felt bad about? Nothing. Shylily highly encouraged Nano to share these things with Bao, but Shylily was the one who had to reach out to Bao herself. Nano may have agreed, but she couldn't do it without Shylily's help. Hour 11 minutes 29 seconds to an hour 15 minutes 28 seconds. So we made a group chat like a few days later because Bao had surgery, so it took a while. We made a group chat. Can you imagine that Giga Chat fucking whale comes out of surgery and has to deal with this? That group chat we used to expose everything, not just, you know, from Nano's messages and having to deal with her manipulation, but we also came to realize that everything that happened to us individually those weren't isolated incidences where you're like, well, it happens. Sometimes you do something that you regret. Sometimes you call your friend a bitch. Sometimes you throw a friend under the bus in the heat of the moment. Hopefully you regret doing that, but that's a different story. But we realized that it wasn't just a coincidence. It wasn't just one incident. It wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a year-long pattern. Everything connected. It was a pattern that consisted over years that just kept going non-stop, you know? And that's when we knew this is fucked up. And respect to my friends, we all decided after all of the receipts and obviously being very emotionally unstable to sleep over it for a night. Obviously, we were all ready for blood. We were like, what the fuck? No way. But we still decided to sleep a night over it. Give it one night. Let's sleep over it one night. The next day, once everyone was awake and had time to deal with their emotions, we all still knew this has to happen. Like, I'm sorry, but sleeping over this just made it so much more clear that this can't be. And this is where I noticed this isn't just to expose what she's done to us. This is to expose the fact that she is doing these things and this is speculation. This is complete speculation, but if that's the stuff that happens in this circle, what else could happen? A pattern is a pattern. You know, again, speculation, but we were like, how would we feel terrible knowing that she conducts business throughout the next couple years, hurting more people like this? Can't do. Can't do. No. It turns out it was a bit bigger than just our group. Google Docky, turns out it was just a bit bigger than our group. And so yeah, we all knew she was going to throw her manager under the bus. We all fucking knew. When you look at the screenshots and you know her and you see the manipulation, the first fucking thing you know is she'll throw her manager under the bus. Everything went live, and you know what she's done? The first thing they both did? They messaged Nano going, Nano, please. You know what the absolute fucking Giga Chat did? Blocked. Blocked. Obviously, we were all ready for blood. On her stream, Bao didn't sound like she was ready for blood. Shylily was projecting that. Oh, screwed up. On her stream, Bao didn't sound like she was ready for blood. Was Shylily projecting that bloodlust onto everyone involved so it didn't sound like she wasn't the weird and problematic one? Or was Bao putting on a performance for the audience? But still, we decided to sleep a night over it. Give it one night. We all still knew this has to happen. With the limited misinformation they got from Nano, Shylily, ready for blood, pushed things along, and my friends, using their confirmation bias from a few other past experiences, they chose to cancel me over one night without ever contacting me. Hour 16 minutes 2 seconds to hour 17 minutes 54 seconds. But then, the next evening, the quote-unquote apology dropped, and one part struck me specifically, because she very clearly, first of all, isn't a fucking apology, but it wasn't even an apology. It was, I'm sorry you feel this way. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry you got caught in this. I'm sorry I was manipulated into hurting you. Fuck of an apology, bro. And one thing that struck me specifically is when she dedicated a section to me and someone else. First of all, okay, I am petty. I didn't even get a section for myself. I am going to be super petty. Not even a section for myself. For someone that is so upset for me not naming her full fucking government Twitch.tv name, for someone to just put me in a document as Lily when previously referring to me as the other gamer subs owner, I don't even get a section for myself with my name properly fucking written? Come on, bro. Don't be such a hypocrite. You don't get to be upset at that shit and then put me there. Throw me in there and be like, I'm so sorry, I had no knowledge of this, and that's when I got mad because no knowledge my ass. But here's the problem. A lot of what we know is hearsay because the girls spend time together. Vacation, travel, blah, 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 you know. Shylily complained that she didn't get her own section of my apology as if anything was actually done to her. My two-syllable name and a thank you was too much to ask for after raiding my friend. I didn't refer to Shylily as the other gamer subs owner. Red did. Separate person. I don't even get a section for myself with my name properly fucking written. Come on, bro, don't be such a hypocrite. You don't get to be upset at that shit and then put me there, throw me in there and be like, I'm so sorry, I had no knowledge of this. I don't get to be upset at the petty actions towards me because I called her Lily. This is extremely narcissistic. Hour 18 minutes 49 seconds in. While waiting for her ad break to end, chat, it's just business. I'm just making a living. It's just business. I'm sorry, it's just business. Petty. Hour 19 minutes 54 seconds to an hour 20 minutes 54 seconds. I don't know where I was, but let me just say, in this section that she dedicated a con to me, she said, sorry for not having any knowledge of this, and that's where I kind of got mad, because like I said, a lot of the stuff that we posted about is only stuff we have hard-coded receipts for. Obviously, there's lots of experience that doesn't exist on paper, it's only private experience, but there is also more receipts, verifiable receipts, that weren't added to the doc because either they are smaller things that just only really become a problem when added up, or they were a little too private to be shared. They contain information that people just don't want to publicly have there. But it is kind of important for context, you know. So you pick and choose and what you want to have up there. Like I said already, if more proof of their claims existed and wasn't shown to it containing personal info like she claimed, they could have censored it. My private messages with Numi are the only thing I can imagine she's talking about. If it is that, and Numi wanted to keep it private, then Shylily chose to baselessly talk all about Numi's concert in her tweet and on her stream against Numi's wishes because she knew how talking about it would make me look. Hour 20 minutes 57 seconds to an hour 24 minutes 19 seconds. For her to claim she has no knowledge when I know for a fact she does, but I have no proof other than hearsay, it reminded me of that one fact. The one receipt we do have, though, where she herself personally throws me under the bus, and I made sure to quote her own words because, again, that screenshot isn't public, but I made sure to quote her words. She'll know what we're talking about. Those quotation marks, the literal quote, I made sure she knows what I'm talking about and what I'm referring to. What I'm referring about. The screenshot isn't there, but there's a couple like that, and the fact that you only took accountability for stuff that's been published and not the stuff that was kept hidden enough for me to have her use me as part of an excuse as to why she had to let her friend down, that very same friend that spent months of prep, hard work, and effort and received a million empty promises just because a couple days before that she wanted to reschedule a VCard collab to, you know, make a neat, nice big boom as a collab and sell a bunch of boxes to make some bag. Yeah, imagine for a fucking collab. Could have had the collab any other day too. Could have been a day or two earlier. Could have been a day or two later. She rescheduled that collab to be on that date. She put it there on that date and that she knew she couldn't. And the only time she ever felt sorry, both the apology and before, guess what? When she was put in her fucking place, people saying, why didn't you handle this privately? We did once. We did. And she's only deflecting and pretending to be apologetic when put on the spot. No proper apology for apology from her before the crash? None. None. She's only sorry when she gets caught. Because she knows fucking what... She knows fucking with that friend she fucked with will mean the end of her career. Because if you're not in good standing with that person, you're not good standing with like probably 80% of the indies that matter to her. Because she is the glue that keeps them fucking together half the time. She wasn't sorry because she fucked over her friend's opportunity on a day that she said she'll be there. She was sorry she was caught in true narcissistic, selfish, egotistic fashion. She's sorry she got caught. For her to claim she has no knowledge, when I know for a fact she does, but I have no proof. Shylily had no proof I knew anything. She just knew I did, but pushed everything to be made public anyway. Shylily is talking about Numi's concert here, but never shows anything about it. The quote she used in her reply to me was from my private conversation with Numi. Pressure to live up to what Lily is. Shylily expected me to take public accountability for an already privately settled situation, once again falsely claiming that I used her as an excuse and that it was all about the money to me. When asked why she didn't handle this privately, Shylily said, "We did once. We did." She's talking about my private apology to Numi about her concert, which ended with me taking accountability and trying to make things right and Numi forgiving me. They didn't handle anything privately before. Shylily didn't handle anything privately, but when she wanted to imply that because Red said "we" in his messages to Nano, it meant I knew of and agreed with everything he said, once again putting standards on me that she wasn't holding herself to. I believe Shylily was the one who was pushing everyone not to handle any of this privately. Here are my final messages with Shylily, Nano, and Bao. April 21st, 2025, April 15th, 2025, March 28th, 2025. Just to make it clear, the person Shylily said you need to be in good standing with is Numi. Shylily also said she was sorry she was caught in true narcissistic, selfish, egotistic fashion. She's sorry she got caught. Hour 24 minutes 19 seconds to hour 25 minutes 43 seconds. Oh, let me just platform that very same person that tried to deplatform me and all of my friends that helped her huh? Oh, let me just platform the very same person that tried to deplatform me and all of my friends that helped her get there to begin with. Let me just continue to platform that one person that tried to backstab us when begging to be in our positions. Fuck no. Throwing me and GamerSups under the bus to save her ass? Fuck no. Oh, the pressure I feel? What pressure? The pressure you begged for? The pressure you told them you wanted to have? There's a responsibility you asked for? Where you wanted to be alongside me? Fuck no. What pressure? Hell no. Fuck off my dick, bro. No, Red and I didn't try to deplatform Shylily. Any of my friends or anyone else. None of either of our actions remotely come close to that. Shylily did that to me. The most anyone has backstabbed was in the deal Red made with Nano behind my back. And I already went over how that really played out. If there was any evidence of me trying to deplatform and backstab any of my friends, why didn't Shylily show that at all? Then, talking about Numi's concert again, says I blamed her and GamerSubs when I didn't. It didn't happen. She goes on to talk about the pressure I was under when I made that decision. No, I didn't beg for that pressure, and I didn't beg for my part ownership position like she claims. I was surprised with the offer by GamerSubs because of my performance with the company, and I accepted it. By what she claimed, Shylily seems to agree that the position did come with pressure and responsibility. The same pressure and responsibility that led to me making my decision about the concert. Hour 26 minutes 55 seconds to an hour 29 minutes 11 seconds. Chat, you're not the only person that says I always had a feeling. I know lots of you are probably men, so you wouldn't maybe quite get it, but as a woman, you can't not get along with another woman based on a gut feeling. You can't do that. You're a catty bitch. You can't do that. You can't. Not get along with someone because of no reason when they prove to be everything but a threat. You can't do that. I'm sure it happens with guys too. Maybe. You can't just be like, nah, she's too nice. You can't do that. What the fuck kind of reason is she's being too nice to not like someone? You can't do that. So most people stay back, usually when you have a gut feeling, in my case anyways, usually when you have a gut feeling you stay back and you observe. You take distance. I'm a very distant, very in my own lane kind of person to begin with. I'm very distant, very minding my own business, just me and my self-time, you know? Usually you stay back and then you observe for an entire year of how nothing goes wrong and how your friend's like that friend and how everything seems peachy, and then you're like, you know what? My gut feeling is fucking ass. I fucking knew it. Shouldn't have trusted it. You know what? Should have trusted it. Yeah, I'm sure guys can also be catty, but yeah, I can't always trust my gut, because I've also had gut feelings about people where I'm like, you know what? That wasn't necessary. I was just already cautious based on nothing. Shylily told her chat she's always had a bad gut feeling about me. Hour 29 minutes 26 seconds to an hour 33 minutes 30 seconds. Long story short, VTuber makes friends in the VTuber space. Friends appreciate having a friend. Turns out they were never a friend. They never intended or wanted to be friends. It was never about friendship. It was always about climbing the career ladder. Said friend, let's call her Snake. Said friend sabotage, backstab, and manipulate behind the scenes when everyone came out because of the first screenshot leaking, followed by more stuff leaking. Everyone got together and realized, wow, we've been fucked for the last couple years. Interesting. Anyways, fast forward. Google Donkey, fast forward. Apology without a ukulele. And I kind of crashed out because of how fucking dare you take zero accountability. All she had to do, you want a good apology for when you fuck up? VTubers, future streamers, write this shit down. You ever need an apology when you actually fuck up? For when you are the bad bitch? Just say, I'm fucking sorry I acted this way. My greed has caused a lot of damage. Greed that got to me when growing up too fast and being too filthy rich by riding on my friends' backs instead of seeing how grateful I was supposed to be for it. I saw them as nothing but an asset. I've been truly blinded by how absolutely malicious, vile, and toxic I've treated them behind the scenes, pretending to be a friend while separating business and sabotaging them. I can never repair the damage I've caused, and I see now clearly what it truly means to lose everything that you were supposed to be grateful for. I'll take some time away and hope to better myself. I'll never be able to repair what I've broken, but I can try and come forward and be a better person in hopes to have learned from this absolutely awful thing that I've done to my most closest and most supportive, loving friends that are the sole reason I have this platform to begin with. Boom. Just own up to it. Take some accountability. Just be like, yeah, I've been a dick. Yeah, I've been a fucking ass. Yeah, I've been blinded. So blinded by my success and money and greed for even more. The greed was unbearable. Yes, I'm terrible. Done. Of course I wouldn't fucking believe her. What the fuck? Manipulator? Fucking of course not. Obviously not, but it's the only way to set things right. You can't fix them, but it's the only way to set things right and to maybe not be a fucking laughingstock for the next half of a year. Next half of a year. Shylily's summary of what happened is a complete lie. Then she presents how she thinks I should have apologized for the things she decided I did, falsely framing me as greedy from growing too fast and being too filthy rich. This is coming from Shylily. Hour 34 minutes 38 seconds to hour 35 minutes 40 seconds. Yeah, the way she barely acknowledged her fan base in her apology, what the fuck? She gave you guys one fucking line. She gave you one fucking line. She's like, yeah, I'm sorry you feel bad with me. Like, what? Girl? Holy shit. Crazy. So at the very end of the donkey, the Google donkey, you get a little quick, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, I'm sorry you feel this way. What can I say? It's shrimply business. Yeah, shrimply business. It is what it is. Cheers. She continues to turn my audience against me in a string of petty insults. I'm sorry that when I was being attacked publicly from all sides by everyone I knew, the focus of what I wrote wasn't on my community. Hour 39 minutes 39 seconds to hour 40 minutes 1 second. She saw me as competition, painted it on me for asking for it, wanting a model from the same model mama, which is a bit weird when she's the one begging for a partial owner and all kinds of other things that she wants from me. But hey, somehow I'm the one who's looking for trouble for wanting a new model. I didn't see Shylily as competition. And Red's view was more than just going to Nano for a model. It would, if she treated me like a friend, it wouldn't have been something he brought up to her. She claimed I was begging for partial ownership and all kinds of other things I wanted from her. That's wild. Not only did she have nothing to do with my part ownership, as if she had the power to give it to me, not once have I ever said anything about that to her. Ever. All kinds of other things I wanted from her? To hang out and get to know her? I've never begged Shylily for anything. What a narcissistic thing to say. Hour 42 minutes 24 seconds. Maybe they will just rebrand Cinder's flavor into It's Just Business. It might still sell. Petty. 2 hours 15 minutes 57 seconds to 2 hours 16 minutes 43 seconds. Yes, Queen, show us nothing, address nothing, shift all the blame, and on top of that, only apologize for the shit that's public, and not all the other stuff you've done. I didn't know the things that my man said, and also the things I've done myself all by myself, and that you guys have receipts of, but you didn't post them, so I didn't know and didn't apologize for them. Yes, Queen, shift the blame. Shylily was the one who was expecting me to publicly take accountability for everything and anything I've ever done, like what happened with Numi's concert, even though it was already settled privately between us. 2 hours 17 minutes to 2 hours 19 minutes 40 seconds. I will not deny that, obviously. You won't always know every single little thing, the ins and outs of every single detail and word, but be for real. To sit and pretend that your man and manager handles everything for you without you knowing a singular freaking be for real. Like, obviously, there's going to be situations where you might genuinely get fucked over by someone else's doing and you didn't know, but not for years and not for so long and not for every single thing. When you yourself have receipts of doubling down and doing the same thing, also in person, but that's hearsay, so can't put it on a Google Donkey, but we know better. Red is with Sinder like 24/7, and we've seen them share messages by going like, here, check this out, like, But again, like I said, this isn't proof, this is hearsay. I understand, but this topic is beyond just you guys and seeing what she's done. It's also just personal stuff that bleeds into it, obviously, right? So it's clearly also hearsay. Obviously, there will be some hearsay to say, but the Google Docies only have receipts. They obviously only have receipts. They only talk truth. They only talk facts. Only receipts, but obviously there's more from spending so much time, travels, and vacations together. Shylily says you won't always know every single little thing, in reference to me knowing about Red's messages, but the standard of knowing everything wasn't fairly applied to me when it mattered. Shylily also claimed this was going on for years when it wasn't. She says the times my friends saw us sharing messages on our phones in person prove I knew everything. Shylily said the documents, Nanos and Bows, only talk the truth. They only talk facts. 2 hours, 23 minutes, 10 seconds, 2 hours, 23 minutes, 30 seconds. It's a long story short. A friend of our friend circle that has been a friend for many years turned out to never have been a friend. We were just stepping stones in her career ladder, and like it wasn't enough to just step over us, she wanted to also just burn the fucking ladder down that she climbed. This is a blatant lie, and it's not true at all. I believe Shylily must have been the one who convinced my friends of this. 2 hours, 23 minutes, 55 seconds to 2 hours, 25 minutes, 10 seconds. Also crazy what happened to Silver. Crazy. The shit she sold us. The shit she said. I knew it wasn't the truth because I've heard the exact opposite story. But when she goes on and on for years, you eventually feel like that one story you've heard isn't true. You'll start to doubt the source. You're like, really? Is that... Hate someone on such a deep level that literally doesn't talk to you, doesn't hurt you, doesn't do anything to you, doesn't get in your way, minds their own business. Yeah, same for spite. I've never said anything about Silvervale to Shylily. I don't know how she can claim she knew it wasn't the truth unless she heard the opposite story from Silvervale herself. Everything I told my other friends about mine and Red's experience with Silver was true, and it's all laid out in her section of this document. Both of us had no reason to lie to them about her. You'll see how I really felt about Silvervale and how our relationship played out in her section. 2 hours 27 minutes to 2 hours 27 minutes 21 seconds. Yeah, luckily somehow I've never known about the spite situation. Completely oblivious, but then again I wasn't nearly as close, didn't spend nearly as much time with her as my other friends, but that was somehow still enough to see me as a fucking threat, even though I've done nothing but platform her whenever she asked to be platformed. The only time she's platformed me and streamed any of our collabs herself was our VCard collab on February 1st, 2025. Other than that, the few times we've done anything together, it's always been on my stream. I platformed her more than she ever did me, and with her dodging the repo collab, possibly so she wouldn't platform me. 2 hours 29 minutes 2 seconds to 2 hours 30 minutes 11 seconds. Man, why? The crazy part to me is you're the face of VTubing. Why do you still have to quench and squelch the very friends who put you there between your toes? You've got it all. You're burning these bridges for like the last 2%, 3%? Like what? Like, do you not do any self-reflecting? Look at your fucking YouTube. Every single video is about someone. It's never about you, and there's nothing wrong with it. Some people simply operate better when bouncing off of other personalities, but to have messages demanding recognition from people you despise and sabotage because you're bigger and better than them, and you got there on your own? Yes, my YouTube channel is made up of videos of me and my friends, but everything Shylily said here is a lie. I wasn't burning bridges, I wasn't demanding recognition, I wasn't sabotaging anyone. The things she's referring to here and completely mischaracterizing are from something Red said about Silvervale once in July of 2023. She's talking as if they were my own words, that it somehow applies to other people that other than Silvervale, and it's relevant to my own actions almost 2 years after the fact. 2 hours, 32 minutes, 40 seconds. Hello, Yuchi. Oh, sorry, I must acknowledge people by their full legal government name, or else I'm misbehaving. I'm being weird and acting weird, I'm sorry. Thank you for gracing me with your presence in my chat today. Yo Clash from Twitch.tv. Teddy. 2 hours, 35 minutes, 30 seconds to 2 hours, 36 minutes, 3 seconds. God, I was just so angry. Every paragraph that was just deflecting. You know what also hit me really wrong? You know what hit me the wrong way? All the damage she caused to specifically Spite and Silver. All the damage she caused. All the bad mouthing. All of the sabotaging career things. All she did was, me being called these things caused me to do it. Me being manipulated by the hate caused me to do it. What about everything you caused? Every paragraph that was just deflecting. Kind of like how Shylily deflected her actions to Nano to begin with, and then after I literally just lost my track. Okay, me being manipulated by the hate caused me to do it. What about everything caused? Okay, now Cinder's response to that. Every paragraph that was just deflecting, kind of like how Shylily deflected her actions to Nano to begin with, and then after admitting to them on the stream, blamed it on me. Shylily makes a good point here. What about everything I or Red caused the Silver Veil and Spine? Well, I've laid out everything that was caused to either of them at the start of this document in the accountability section. You'll see it in their own sections too. You'll also see all of the things I didn't cause, but the public was told I caused. You already saw Nano and you already saw Nano canceling Silver's model in November 2023, but blaming it on me, and Silverveil and Spite made plenty of their own claims too that are addressed in their section. 2 hours, 36 minutes, 32 seconds to 2 hours, 36 minutes, 51 seconds. What destroyed me was Bao being sad in the same group chat Sinder was in about her model being cancelled. Yeah, imagine it. Didn't even have the balls to fucking say anything. You know what? Because she knew what she was doing was fucking wrong. She knew. Wrong again, but Shylily seems to know a lot about having the balls to say anything when she could never say anything herself. 2 hours, 39 minutes, 37 seconds to 2 hours, 40 minutes. Like, in your own words, it's just business. I'm sorry. But then in true business fashion, you're going to have to take responsibility for what happens in your business, just like everyone else. If someone truly does get fucked over, if someone truly does something behind your back, well, you can't just be like, it wasn't me, and throw your hands in the air and be like, well, too bad. Shylily's use of it's just business was obviously not the same as my use of the phrase. 2 hours, 40 minutes, 58 seconds to 2 hours, 41 minutes, 12 seconds. We found out like fucking 5 days ago. Collected the evidence for a day, and then slept over it for a day. To really, because we realized we have career-ending fucking evidence, so we went to fucking bed, then posted it. Shylily again lies about the timeline of events. She found out about this 2 weeks ago, not 5 days ago. 5 days ago was when Shylily and Nano told Bao after her surgery. They actually didn't have career-ending fucking evidence, but because Nano lied to everyone, and everything Red said was projected onto me, I believe Shylily used the little evidence she had to make sure it ended my career. 2 hours, 42 minutes, 32 seconds to 2 hours, 43 minutes, 28 seconds. You know what? Again, I'm not even upset at your friend because he probably sees this and just like the people before, he is just being successfully manipulated. I want to be mad and be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Chances are your friend probably just some very naive young guy or girl and goes, I don't think that's enough. And I'm like, well, give it a few more years. Go see the real world and you will see the absolute audacity, narcissistic manipulation, and all of this. If you don't see anything wrong with blank proof of someone sabotaging the friends that platformed them, I don't know, man. Shylily told a viewer that her friend was naive for asking for more evidence of the claims made against me. It's really funny that Shylily said to give it a few more years before they'd see the absolute audacity, narcissistic manipulation, and all of this, because it took only 5 months to make the narcissistic manipulation abundantly clear. Throughout her whole stream trashing me, Shylily avoided accountability, gave excuses, deflected, and made jokes out of the things she was doing while simultaneously admitting to everything she claimed was slander and manipulation that turned Nano against me in the first place. Shylily didn't care about the lies she was telling about me on stream. She won and celebrated my cancellation. She couldn't help but take a victory lap around my corpse. She says a lot about her narcissistic character. Accountability only mattered to her when it's the other way around. I should have known better. I should have known better than to expect the Shylily to hold herself to the same standards as she did Snake. Shylily is the only one who was involved that has a highlight video of her stream, talking about me on her main YouTube channel. She was more than happy to profit off of this, and broadcast her lies about me to her 1 million subscribers, addressing the Sinder situation on the YouTube channel Shylily. What did Shylily have against me in the first place? Speculation. Shylily lied about me on her stream, lied about me in a reply, lied about me to my friends, and lied to Nano at the very start. The actions she said were slander she admitted to on stream. Clearly, Shylily had something against me before Red ever talked to Nano about her, according to her as early as March 21st, 2025, when she dodged the repo collab. So, what was her problem? The one person that is the reason for me dodging is the one concerned as to why I'm dodging. Let's look at some of the things she said on her stream again. 11 minutes 5 seconds to 11 minutes 21 seconds. You don't have to give me biddies and shmoney to make me feel better. We're not like that in here. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but like coping, okay? Coping. 45 minutes 7 seconds to 46 minutes 8 seconds. God, that. Oh, when she said that and when she tried to bring me onto. Okay, I know when she said that and she tried to make this thing with me and we were doing a collab and she was just like, oh, the Charizard and Blastoise of VCard doing the. Oh, like. How dare you sit there and pretend to be some box legendary of something that you didn't create? Disgusting. Trust me, we all cringed, but people sometimes get excited when they do cringeworthy stuff. 49 minutes to 49 minutes 12 seconds. You burned your Cinder merch? Honestly, I can't encourage you. You paid for it. You do what the fuck you want. But if I can encourage you to do something, donate it. Okay, but again, you do what you want to do. If that's how you cope with this, that's also okay. But 2 things. Not to defend anything of what she's done, but you're just a viewer. You don't have to atone for someone's sins and feel bad about the good times you've had. Whether they were fake or not, doesn't matter. You had a good time. Those are your memories to keep, you know? But on top of that, again, if you cope by burning your merch, I ain't judging. You cope the way you want to cope. I cope through memes and making fun of things. That also isn't fucking perfect. But you have, if you have it in you, you can cope with it. But if you have it in you and you can cope with it, just give me a moment. I've been talking for about 3 hours straight. Give me a break. Okay. But if you have it in you and you can cope with it, try and donate everything you've got. Any shirt, sweater, figurine, plush, whatever the fuck it is, just donate it. Hour 9 minutes 7 seconds to hour 9 minutes 40 seconds. So anyways, yes, I am guilty of dodging a collab because I simply didn't fucking feel like it. And yes, I am guilty of ghosting 2 messages where she asked for a collab, which by the way, she only does when there is something business related. AFK drop, VCard drop, any event, any debut, any announcement, any merch. Then I'm important. Then we can network. Hour 20 minutes 57 seconds to hour 24 minutes 19 seconds. That very same friend that spent months of prep, hard work, and effort and received a million empty promises just because a couple days before that she wanted to reschedule a VCard collab to, you know, make a nice big boom as a collab and sell a bunch of boxes to make some bag. Yeah, imagine for a fucking collab. Could have had the collab any other day too. Hour 24 minutes 19 seconds to hour 25 minutes 43 seconds. Oh, let me just platform the very same person that tried to deplatform me and all of my friends that helped her get there to begin with. Let me just continue to platform that one person that tried to backstab us when begging to be in our positions. Fuck no. Throwing me and gamer subs under the bus to save her ass? Fuck no. All this pressure I feel? What pressure? The pressure you begged for? The pressure you told them you wanted to have? The responsibility you asked for? Where you wanted to be alongside me? Fuck no. What pressure? Hell no. Fuck off my dick, bro. Hour 29 minutes 26 seconds to hour 33 minutes 30 seconds. All she had to do, you want a good apology for when you fuck up? YouTubers, future streamers, write this shit down. You ever need an apology for when you actually fuck up? And when you are the bad bitch, just say, I'm fucking sorry I acted this way. My greed has caused a lot of damage, greed that got me from growing too fast and being too filthy rich by rotting on my friends' backs. Instead of seeing how grateful I was supposed to be for it, I saw them as nothing but an asset. I've been truly blinded by how absolutely malicious, vile, and toxic I've treated them behind the scenes, pretending to be a friend while separating business and sabotaging them. I can never repair the damage I've caused, and I see now clearly what it truly means to lose everything that you were supposed to be grateful for. I'll take some time away and hope to better myself. I'll never be able to repair what I've broken, but I can try and come forward and be a better person in hopes to have learned from this absolutely awful thing that I've done to my most closest and most supportive, loving friends that are the sole reason I have this platform to begin with. Boom. Just own up to it. Take some accountability. Just be like, yeah, I've been a dick. Yeah, I've been a fucking ass. Yeah, I've been blinded. So blinded by my success and money and greed for even more. The greed was unbearable. Yes, I'm terrible. Done. Of course I wouldn't fucking believe her. What the fuck? Manipulator? Fucking of course not. Obviously not. But it's the only way to set things right. You can't fix them, but it's the only way to set things right and to maybe not be a fucking laughingstock for like the next half a year. Hour 39 minutes 39 seconds to an hour 40 minutes 1 second. She saw me as competition, painted it on me for asking for it by wanting a model from the same model mama, which is a bit weird when she's the one begging for a partial owner and all kinds of other things that she wants from me. But hey, somehow I'm the one who's looking for trouble for wanting a new model. Shylily viewed me as a very greedy person, that all of my actions were due to my alleged greed. She encouraged viewers to donate any and all of my merch, but didn't dissuade them from burning it either. Shylily also wants to make it seem like I begged to be in her position at GamerSubs as a part owner, even begging her for it, as if I was jealous of her, not because I actually earned it like she did. She seemed to have a very emotional outburst when talking about me calling myself the Charizard of VCard. Not that she'd know this, but for my debut anniversary on June 25th, 2025, I was supposed to be releasing a limited edition tub of Pyro Power with a promo V card, both with art drawn by Nanoless. Red and I fought with GamerSubs to make my promo card the same card across all purchases instead of having a 1 in 10 chance of getting the holographic one. It could have made so much more money if people needed to buy a bunch of tubs to get the right card, but it wasn't about the money to me or Red. But let's look at more evidence of this besides what she said on her stream. The first message of mine Shylily ghosted was about another VCard collab when the rules were updated. The very next day on her stream from March 29th, 2025, Shylily received a text-to-speech message about my then upcoming AFK flavor. the first thing she said was that she had nothing to do with my part ownership. Oh, because she's co-owner? That has nothing to do with me, bro. I don't have a saying that, like, shit had nothing to do with me. Don't look at me, bro. It's got nothing to do with me. That's GamerSupps. Leave me out of this shit. That shit. Ain't got nothing to do with me. Those are all GamerSupps' decision. She then says GamerSupps has been begging her to make a new flavor. She goes into an almost 10-minute rant about how she's not all about the money, but that she has a bunch of things lined up she could release whenever she wants, but she's not like that. Pretty blatantly in contrast to the text-to-speech message about me. March 29th, 2025, 34 minutes 31 seconds to 44 minutes 7 seconds. VOD, farming to make my waifu's happy even if my hands fall off. Shylily VOD. This was well before Red ever talked to Nano about Shylily on April 12th. On her stream from April 29th, 2025, a day after talking about my cancellation, Shylily told her audience she highly suggests that the right thing for me to do is to give up my GamerSupps part ownership. April 29th, 2025, 39 minutes 36 seconds to 45 minutes 14 seconds. VOD, the healing journey begins. Let's try to play games again. Shylily VOD. Okay, so this is pure speculation, okay? Like, pure speculation. This hasn't happened yet, and I am not in a position to talk to GamerSupps about it to begin with either. Right? Pure speculation. I highly doubt they would remove a flavor fully. I don't even think they would remove her who shall not be named fully to begin with. I'm not sure how much business knowledge any of you guys have, but any amount of partial ownership makes it difficult to just force someone to step down. They can step down willingly, which I highly suggest she does. If she has any ounce of guilt, regret, and anything, she would do it herself to protect the others, to truly show that she cares about the others that have to forcefully associate with her, alongside her despite the damages she has caused in their careers. Not just morally and emotionally, but also financially. Like, debuts can be expensive. If I had to guess where this is going, I think GamerSupps is kind of forced to wait for her to return. I am pretty sure I am certain or hope that she is currently far from the interwebs, so currently there isn't really anything you can do, but if I had to speculate on a few options that could happen, if she comes back, surrenders her shares and sells them at a fair market value, so she can protect the people who no longer wish to be associated alongside a brand that supports her that she has once been the face of. Either she does this not only as a sign to show that she can and is bettering herself, and she is making decisions to start undoing some of the hurt by distancing herself from the ones she has hurt, so they no longer have to associate alongside her forcefully, or she does the opposite, and we'll see. I don't know. Or she simply remains just an affiliate of the brand, not a bigger name, not in anything. She's just part of the affiliation. I want to make this clear. I reached my decision to give up my part ownership myself, and Shylily had nothing to do with my choice. But Shylily said that this as if I needed to repent for the lies she and the others told about me. GamerSupps had nothing to do with anything that happened. But that didn't stop Shylily from telling her viewers it was that what she wanted me to do. If Shylily really cared about the impact my part ownership would have on GamerSupps, she would have considered handling things privately with me instead of being the driving force in making all of these lies public, losing the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. She probably knew all of this controversy about me could be a way to push me out of the company, all while keeping her own hands clean. It wouldn't look good for Shylily to go after the other GamerSupps owner after all. The 2 days after that stream on May 1st, 2025, Shylily couldn't help herself and made an announcement in the VCard production server where the staff, VTubers, and artists developed the game, notifying everyone. She chose to involve the over 70 people in this server in what happened personally. I don't have a screenshot of the Discord notification of the full message because it was deleted shortly after it was made. However, I have a screenshot of my notification history from that day when it happened, showing a part of what she said, May 1st, 2025. I feel sorry for you guys dealing with stuff that is none of your business or concern. If Shylily wasn't trying to get everyone in this server involved, then no one would have to be dealing with this stuff like she said. Here is the Discord channel it was in. Here is the proof of the date of this screenshot. At some point, she even took the time to go back and delete her reply to my part ownership announcement. Not only did Shylily admit to always having a bad feeling about me, but I believe Shylily had a problem with me because of my performance in GamerSupps. I was now a part owner, a title she exclusively held as a VTuber before me, something unique to her. I would always be planning and launching things with GamerSupps, something she was unwilling to do like she said in her stream from March 29th, 2025. She viewed that as a cash grab, as greedy. But I don't think just being a part owner was the problem. I think most importantly, she didn't like how enthusiastic I was about VCard, and the role I was carving out for myself in it. Not only did I mistakenly give out information early when VCard launched, like I showed in that section, but mine because the most sought after. Oh, my eyes hurt. Like I showed in that section, but mine became the most sought after card in her game. The Charizard of VCard. Okay, I gotta take a moment, guys. My eyes hurt. I'm crying. I've been talking for like 3 hours now. Oh my gosh. Okay. The Charizard of VCard. Oh, the Charizard and Blastoise of VCard doing the oh, like how dare you sit there and pretend to be some box legendary, something that you didn't create. Disgusting. Trust me, we all cringe, but people sometimes get excited and they do cringeworthy stuff. I called myself the Charizard to advertise myself in the game and advertise the cards themselves. Everyone knows Pokemon and everyone knows Charizard. VCard's first set of cards was like Pokemon's base set. I compared myself and Shylily to the Charizard and Blastoise of the VTuber card game because there were the two VTuber part owners of gamer subs, like Pokemon Red and Blue. Calling myself this wasn't to try to steal her thunder in her game or take credit for her or take credit for it in any way. I may have called her Blastoise, but she's literally the Pikachu of VCard. Shylily didn't like me calling myself the Charizard, but she didn't like the prominence. Oh, Shylily didn't like me calling myself the Charizard. She didn't like the prominence it gave me in her game, but GamerSubs did. This is from one of my GamerSubs contacts last December. We'll call them GamerSubs number 1, December 12th, 2024. This is from another person at GamerSubs number 2, a few days before VCard launched on January 31st, 2025. January 28th, 2025. Another message from GamerSubs number 1 over a month after VCard launched, March 11th, 2025. And here's a message from another person at GamerSubs number 3, March 14th, 2025. Set 2, Awakened Worlds. Out of the very few VTubers not returning in Set 2 of VCard, I was one of them. However, that wasn't supposed to be the case. My 3 cards for Set 2 were completed before I was cancelled, and I was going to be a water type. I was told weeks after my cancellation that I had been removed from the lineup. Here's a cropped version of one of the card artworks that went unused. I may be wrong about this, but after I was cancelled and removed, another VTuber who I didn't remember being part of the set was able to be added and presumably fill my vacant water card slot. The claims about Numi's concert in her stream on April 28th, 2025. Like I said in the section about this, I was expected to talk about this in my apology when it was never mentioned in Nano's or Bao's documents because why would it have been? It was about Numi, who was not one of my accusers. It was settled privately between Numi and I in January, where I already took accountability for my actions. This event was publicly used against me, especially by Shylily, after I had already made my apology and had no way to defend myself or tell my side of the story. It was vaguely talked about without ever showing any evidence to support the narrative of me betraying and manipulating my friends. 1. Over half a year of planning. Bao said I was planning Numi's concert with her for over half a year. Shylily said there was months of continuous planning in her reply to my apology. If this was planned with me over half a year, why was Numi's first message to me inviting me as a guest on November 25th, 2024, about 2 months before the concert, and only a month later and just over 5 weeks before the show? Message read, not me, to start planning my performance on December 26th, 2024. Numi's concert in NYC was on February 1st, 2025. Her concert in general may have been planned for longer, but not my inclusion in it. November 25th, 2024. December 26th, 2024. 2. No remorse. Shylily said, I never felt bad for failing my friends, in reference to Numi's concert, and on the stream said, and the only time she ever felt sorry in both the apology and before, guess what? When she was put in her fucking place. This is a lie. Here's the tweet I made in the middle of the night after I messaged Numi about not coming to her show and before I heard from her. January 29th, 2025. 3. A broken promise. Shylily said I broke an important promise, and on stream said Numi received 1,000,000 empty promises from me. I never promised Numi I'd perform at her show or that I'd be there. Red didn't do so on my behalf either. I've shown all of the messages about the concert. Numi said that it was okay if I didn't perform, and okay if I didn't go before either of my decisions were made. January 10th, 2025. 4. Shifting blame. Shylily said I blamed her for my decision not to go to Numi's concert, and I used her as part of an excuse as to why I had to let my friend down. Excuse me. I didn't blame Shylily and I didn't lie to Numi. My reason was always primarily my part ownership promotion with GamerSubs and the responsibility I felt to be there for VCard's launch. While the collab was part of it, it was never the main reason, and I likely would have made the same decision if there wasn't a collab planned. January 29th, 2025. 5. Sinder wasn't at the concert. Bao told her audience on April 27th, 2025 that I didn't go to Numi's concert. Shylily also implied I wasn't there in her reply to my apology, and then said on stream she wasn't sorry because she fucked over her friend's opportunity on a day that she said she'll be there. But I was there. I told Shylily I was going to Numi's concert in our DMs immediately after our VCard collab on February 1st, 2025. On Bao's stream, when she originally talked about Numi's concert, she said I was there herself. Bao performed at Numi's concert on Bao the Whale clips. I was on Numi's stream with Bao and Numi in her hotel room the next morning on February 2nd. Here's a clip of that stream where we're talking about the concert. They thought Vienna was Numi's staff, best of February 2025 on Numi's channel. And here's a clip of Vienna talking about me being literally in front of her at the concert. Vienna talking about Numi's New York concert, DJ Numi Certified Fan channel. If that's not enough, here's some screenshots of the videos Red took at Numi's concert in NYC on February 1st. You can see that these pictures look just like the image of the concert on Numi's own tweet, including the stage lights, light sticks in the crowd, and the outfit she was wearing, February 1st, 2025. Numi's stream on April 28th, 2025. The main thing I want to look at from Numi's stream is her retelling of what happened between us leading up to her concert on February 1st, 2025. Below is the full transcript of everything she said about it so you can see it in full context. I'll be breaking down the bolded parts underneath that. One thing that needs to be clarified is that Numi had two concerts at the start of the year about a week apart from each other. She had one in LA on January 26th and one in NYC on February 1st. I was only ever intended to perform at her show in NYC. In what she said below, it sounds like she refers to both of them at different points, but never clarifies which show she's talking about. April 28th, 2025. Numi admits she's feeling horrible over the Sinder Twitter situation. On Numi Clips fan channel. 15 minutes, 32 seconds, 26 minutes, 35 seconds. I'm somebody that I feel if there's an issue, I want to talk about it. It's uncomfortable, but it's something that I always want to do. There was something that happened between us a couple months ago that I had talked to her about for months, and that she agreed to and was super excited about. But any other things that I heard about were not from herself, but from Red. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out if I want to. I don't want to bring more into it. I don't want to make it worse, I don't want to, but I know that it was brought up and I want to add clarification. I think people can connect the dots on what happened. If you guys are a Noombo and you were going to a concert, you probably were able to fill in the blanks with what happened. I was not upset about the fact that she couldn't perform, because a lot of the things that come with performing take a lot of, courage to get on stage, and it's not something that's for everyone, especially if you're a VTuber who's used to being behind a screen. My issue was never with that. My issue was the fact that I never knew how she was feeling. Anything that I was told was from Red. I just had a bunch of different reasons for why potentially they weren't going to be able to do it. It was very close to the date, a week and a half before, when I got told about that. And I think the thing that sucks the most about it was because from her perspective, she was talking about how excited she was, and then it was that same day from him that he said they're not going to do it anymore. I have my music friend Holmes, who spent, dozens of hours working on the set list for, me and Office Drummer to perform, and we put a lot of time and effort into putting this together, and I asked every single month for months, and wasn't told about it until it was at a point where we literally couldn't find a replacement, and even after that, I still didn't hear anything about how she actually felt. I was super sad, obviously. Bao, even though she was doing good, immediately said she would fly to New York with me and do the concert with me, and she didn't have to, but she did. And I think it's been said many times that she's my best friend, but she saw me in a state like that, and even though she was hurting, she put all of that aside just to be there for me, and to be there for me when Cinder couldn't even tell me herself how she felt. I feel so mad thinking about how she did that for me, and to save her for not being able to go, and to find out that she felt that way about my best friend, who was never given me any reason to not think of her as one of the best people I've ever met, and I talked to her about how I felt, and told Bao how I felt, and I didn't really know what to do, and I said, I just want to hear it from her. I just wanted to hear how she felt. I would forgive it. I just wanted to know how she was feeling through all of this and not through somebody else. And I said, if she does come up to me and tell me that it's any other reason than no stage fright, anxiety, worries, I would not be happy. And I get a message from her a couple days after my concert saying that she couldn't go because she felt responsibility. As I said that the number one thing I didn't want to hear was if she talked to me as if she put business above her friends, and I would have literally accepted anything else. But the reason that she gave me was putting business above me over her new position and how she felt obligated to do the stream that she said she had to do. I said, go for it. Yeah, go for it. I think at the point, that's when I kind of felt like my views started to crumble a little bit. I think that just really sucked, and I didn't reply because at that point I was on a ski trip with my friends who flew from different countries to watch me perform. I came back home and I had an amazing dinner and introduced my family to all of my friends who flew in. And I just didn't want to think about somebody who would put business over me, you know. And then afterwards, I didn't. After I didn't reply, I sent a message asking, saying maybe they can make it after all, and then getting a message from Red saying she felt really guilty she couldn't go, and we want to make it so that we could be there for you. And I just think that's what really caused me to want to say something, and I did. And I messaged Cinder and expressed my disappointment, and she apologized and told me all of the reasons that she should have said instead of bringing up the business. I forgave her, but I saw that she brought up a collab that she said she couldn't miss, and I didn't believe that because if there's one person outside of Bao that I know would not put business over me, it's Lily. And I found out that I was lied to and that this was something that could have definitely been changed and didn't have to be on the day of the concert. So yeah, I think after that I felt like a lot of trust was broken, and I would rather, I just wanted to move on from that, but I couldn't see her the same exact way after that. And like I said, there's so many things that could have been said, but she didn't until I asked her what I wanted. After I just asked for her own opinions and her own feelings, and I do sit here, I sat wondering, what if I didn't say anything? Would she have even said anything at all? And it just feels, I don't know. I said, I hope you don't turn into somebody that will always prioritize the business over the people who care about you. And I guess that's also why I was shocked to see everything, but also it made sense because of what I saw. I just feel so fucking shit about it because these are just all things that, with everything, could have been prevented just by talking to people. Like, just also self inflicted. I'm somebody that I feel if there is an issue, I want to talk about it. It's uncomfortable, but it's something that I always want to do. And there was something that happened between us a couple months ago that I had talked to her about for months that she agreed to, super excited about. But any other things that I heard about were not from herself, but from Red. Numi's first and only message to me about her concert was on November 25th, 2024, where she invited me to go and didn't say anything about performing. This was about 2 months before her show in NYC. November 25th, 2024 to November 26th, 2024. She had messaged Red on September 1st, 2024 about me either performing or going to her show, but this never went anywhere and she was never given an answer. September 1st, 2024. Her next message about the concert was to Red a month later on December 26th, 2024 to start planning things. She did not message me about it. This was about 5 weeks before her show in NYC. December 26th, 2024. My issue was the fact that I never knew how she was feeling. Anything that I was told was from Red. I agree that I should have talked to Numi much sooner than I did and been open with her from the start. It was wrong of me to let Red communicate my feelings for me. Numi never messaged me about how the show messaged me about the show or how I was feeling about it, only Red. She never told the public that she went to Red in their DMs for communication about this from the start. I just had a bunch of different reasons for why potentially they weren't going to be able to do it. It was very close to the date, a week and a half before, when I got told about that. Red messaged me about why I might not perform over 3 weeks, 22 days before the concert in New York City on January 10th, 2025. January 10th, 2025. And I think the thing that sucks the most about it was because from her perspective, she was talking about how excited she was, and then it was that same day from him that he said they're not going to do it anymore. On the same day as Red's messages to Numi above, I messaged Numi about the matching shirts she was making for us. I was excited about wearing them to the concert or during our collab in the hotel together and said nothing about my performance. I understand why this was confusing in contrast to what Red said to her earlier that day. January 10th, 2025. 3 days later is when Red told Numi I wasn't going to perform. This was 19 days before the concert in New York City. When Numi said a week and a half later, I can only assume she was talking about the date of her Los Angeles concert, which I wasn't performing at, but even that was a day under 2 weeks away. January 13th, 2025. I have my music friend Holmes who spent, dozens of hours working on the set list for, me and Office Drummer to perform, and we put a lot of time and effort into putting this together. And I asked every single month for months and wasn't told about it until it was at the point where we literally couldn't find a replacement. Numi told Red in December that they already had a set list made, with an opening for me to perform one of my own songs if I wanted to. If there were any songs already planned in the set list for me to perform, it was never communicated to Red or I, December 26, 2024. I don't know what Numi means by I asked every single month for months and wasn't told about it until it was at a point where we literally couldn't find a replacement. Numi's message above to Red was the one time she asked either of us about my performance in the concert, and the only time she messaged either of us first about planning it in general. She did not ask either of us every single month for months when this one message from her was 5 weeks before her concert. On stream, she said they literally couldn't find a replacement for me. But from her messages to Red, it sounded like she didn't need a replacement guest. It was her show. She had a set list made, and as far as I ever knew, it didn't include me at the time I pulled out. She told Red 3 days before he canceled that she never announced me as a guest, and that I shouldn't feel pressured to perform or even go at all. January 10th, 2025. Val put all of that aside just to be there for me, and to be there for me when Cinder couldn't even tell me herself how she felt. I feel so mad thinking about how she did that for me, and to save her for not being able to go. And to find out that she felt that way about my best friend who has never given me any reason to not think of her as one of the best people I've ever met now. And I talked to her about how I felt, and I told Bao how I felt, and I didn't really know what to do, and I said, like, I just want to hear it from her. When Numi said Bao saved me for not being able to go, it sounds like I didn't go to her concert at all when I actually did. I did not feel the way she thinks I did about Bao as explained in her section of this document, and she was infinitely better friend than I was in this situation. Numi said she told Bao about how she felt about me not performing, but never confronted me about it. At the start of this retelling, Numi said, I'm somebody that I feel if there is an issue, I want to talk about it. It's uncomfortable, but it's something that I always want to do. I agree, I should have talked to Numi, but she made it seem like it wasn't a problem for me not to perform to Red. If it really was an issue like she's saying, she never messaged me either. I just wanted to know how she was feeling through all of this and not through somebody else, and I said if she does come up to me and tell me it's any other reason than, stage fright, anxiety, worries, I would not be happy. And I get a message from her a couple days after my concert saying that she shouldn't go because she felt responsibility but the reason that she gave me was putting business above me over her new position, and now she felt obligated to do the stream that she said she had to do. I said, go for it, go for it. Again, Numi doesn't specify what concert she's talking about here. I messaged her the night after her concert in Los Angeles, not after the show I was supposed to perform at in New York City, January 27, 2025. This was my reasoning for not going to her show, not about not performing. Numi, just like Shylily, is mixing up these two separate things into one. I did put my career over her, and that was wrong of me. The stage fright, anxiety, and worries were all true as to why I didn't perform, and that decision was made 2 weeks before this one. I did not, anywhere here, tell Numi I felt obligated to do the stream that she said she had to do. Like she said, and she didn't reply telling me to go for it, my collab with Shylily wasn't even scheduled at the time our performance was cancelled on January 13th, 2025, and wasn't my reason for choosing not to go to her show later on. After I didn't reply, I sent a message saying maybe they can make it after all, then getting a message from Red saying she felt really guilty she couldn't go and we want to make it so that we could be there for you, and I just think that's what really caused me to want to say something, and I did. And I messaged Sinder and expressed my disappointment, and she apologized and told me all of the reasons that she should have said instead of bringing up the business. The night I sent my first message to Numi, I did feel guilty about it, but it was Red who told her that when it should have been me. The night I sent my first message to Numi, I did feel guilty about it, but it was Red who told her that when it should have been me. Here, Numi again confuses the two different reasons for not performing and not going to her show. January 28th, 2025. January 29th, 2025. Can't talk. I forgave her, but I saw that she brought up a collab that she said she couldn't miss, and I didn't believe that because if there's one person outside of Bao that I know would not put business over me, it's Lily, and I found out that I was lied to and that this was something that could have definitely been changed and didn't have to be on the day of the concert. Where did I say that? Where did I lie to Numi and say that? What I did say is that I could reschedule the collab to make my mistake up to her. January 27, 2025. January 29th, 2025. I believe Shylily convinced Numi to see things her way, and made her believe my intentions were to hurt, sabotage, and lie to her, the same way she convinced Nano to believe Red was lying and manipulating her. I sat wondering if I didn't say anything. Would she have even said anything at all? And it just feels, I don't know. I said, I hope you don't turn into somebody that will always prioritize the business over the people who care about you. No, I wouldn't have said anything. I would have kept my mistake to myself and hoped Numi didn't hate me because of it. I could not open up about how I felt. It was this conversation with Numi that made me take steps to change the ways I've been so closed off to people. It made me realize I can't keep holding everything in. I wasn't going to put business over a friend in a situation like this again, and wanted to be absolutely sure I was there for her at her next show, March 21st, 2025. Numi, Bao, and Shylily couldn't have been misinformed of what happened with Numi's concert. They knew what happened, what I said, and that I was at the show. I'm choosing to believe that Numi and Bao didn't intentionally lie about the concert. Emotions were high, and maybe they were speaking from feelings rather than fact, but the story told to the public wasn't true, and no evidence of what happened was shown. Another thing I want to address is what Numi said about Bao and Tricky being isolated. I've already conceded Bao was isolated due to my actions and apologized in her section of this document, and I apologized to Tricky in the accountability section for leaving her behind that day in Japan, but Tricky was not isolated by me or Red. I was doing things all the time with her online and with Boss Rush, and Red and I were almost always with Tricky during every trip we were on together with when no one else was. All the time we spent around Tricky made her one of our closest friends. Red and I have done more for her than anyone else. Tricky confided in us about all the time she felt hurt by others when traveling, but Tricky, like myself, has always wanted to keep the peace between everyone instead of bringing things like that up. Nanoless's lies, speculation. Throughout this document, I've been basing my argument on the assumption that Nano didn't share the full story of what happened between her and Red to Shylily, my friends and the public, and instead lied to save her ass, as Shylily would say. Why? Here's what that led me to believe this was the case. Nano had Shylily on her side from the start because she was the one who told Nano she was being manipulated. No matter the story she told or little evidence she showed, Shylily would back Nano up to my friends. Nano couldn't go to Bao herself about what she showed Shylily because she would have had to show the full context of Bao's model being cancelled to her. Nano had Shylily contact Bao so she could explain things and vouch for her story. Nano also wasn't going to show Shylily what she said about her best friend Bao. The exclusivity deal between Red and Nano had nothing tangible happen to anyone other than Nano as a result of it, including Bao's model being cancelled, something Bao never hinted at knowing. Nano could have lied about it never being agreed to without ever showing the full DMs, just like it's lied about never happening in her document that Shylily presumably wrote for her. Nano blamed all of her past model cancellations on us under the excuse of years of manipulation that Shylily gave her. All of my friends, including Shylily, were all saying that all of this was happening over years and going on for so long, when nothing was. They all used that timeline to support their belief that there was no way I didn't know about the few things Red actually did without telling me. On her stream, when talking about making her decisions to make everything public, Bao said, "And I know that for so many people to be affected that it was the right decision to do." If my friends had the full story, they would have known nothing was happening over years. Nano wasn't manipulated, and she was guilty of affecting so many people with her own cancellations. The decision to make things public was left up to Bao, and if she didn't say something, no one else would, even though all the alleged evidence of wrongdoing was in Nano's DMs, who claimed she was the victim of abuse and manipulation and sabotage of other VTubers for years. She wasn't going to make a statement on her own. Red asking Nano not to work with Spite wasn't shown in her document, even with other messages about Spite being included. Why? You'd think it'd support her story of sabotaging other creators. I believe it was shown in her document, or to my friends at all, because... Oh, I believe it wasn't shown in her document or to my friends at all, because Red didn't manipulate Nano to do it. Red asked her, and Nano gladly and willingly agreed with him. The same way she didn't show her gladly and willingly agreeing to the exclusivity deal. She wasn't manipulated and her story would fall apart. Nano replied to Silverveil's document saying, "I literally can't believe this," as if she didn't know exactly how and why Silverveil's model was really cancelled. If my friends had seen everything, they would have known Nano was guilty of doing this herself. Bao's document doesn't crop out Nano's message calling her exclusivity deal with Red fair. If Bao knew everything that happened and was just trying to lie to protect Nano, this message would have been cropped like it is in Nano's document, which Shylily had a big hand in putting together. My friend's confirmation bias towards me because of Numi's concert and Bao's feelings of isolation gave Nano the cover to leave out details in her story and what was shown to them. They weren't concerned with Nano's actions, but the actions they were convinced they did by her and Shylily. I believe Shylily pushed everything along to be executed in a matter of days, and Bao was given the choice to make everything public when she wasn't in a great headspace for after surgery. There also wasn't a lot of time to think the evidence over, and no one communicated with me to find out my side of the story. Is it more believable that one person lied with the support of another to convince my friends of their story, or that almost a dozen people, all of my closest friends, all willingly agreed to and conspired to publicly lie about me in a matter of days? When I started this document, I was under the belief that all of my friends lied about what happened to protect Nano and hurt me for Bao's sake. As naive as it may be of me, and even though there's evidence for that actually being what happened too, I'm choosing to believe that wasn't the case. If I'm wrong about Nano lying to my friends, and they actually did see everything in her DMs, then that means they all lied about me. It is also plausible Nano shared more of her DMs with Shylily than the rest of my friends since she helped Nano put her document together, helping her lie. Even though she claimed she was a victim, Nano didn't hesitate to post the most recent artwork I commissioned from her only 2 days after she posted her document, April 28th, 2025. Shylily's manipulation speculation. Shylily was involved in everything from the start and came out of this the hero. There isn't a lot of hard evidence of it, but due to her actions and things she said, I believe she may have manipulated everyone in how everything played out. She seemed to have a lot of knowledge about how a narcissistic manipulator would act, so let's look at her own action. Shylily lied to Nano, and manipulated her to believe she was being lied to and manipulated by Red about the things he was saying when she wasn't. Shylily most likely wrote Nano's document for her. She used Nano's information to tell whatever story she wanted, writing lie after lie, and then had it posted as if she had nothing to do with it. On her stream, Shylily said she was afraid of how I'd manipulate my way out of things after the documents were posted. With that, it's possible Shylily could have been the one to instruct Nano to separate herself from Red and I due to the threat of being further manipulated, being why Nano cut contact with us through Akira. If Shylily told my friends the same thing, then it'd support why no one ever reached out to talk to me. Shylily was the one to back up Nano's story and false claims of manipulation to Bao and the rest of my friends with the limited screenshots Nano gave them as proof. Shylily convinced Numi I lied to her in our private conversation about her concert and blamed the things I did on Shylily. Shylily also could have used this event to justify to my friends why they shouldn't talk to me. On stream, she said, they tried talking to me once, in reference to this to explain why they didn't talk to me this time. Shylily was the one who saw me as greedy and jealous, and I believe she pushed those ideas to my friends and convinced them those were my motives behind their claims. Shylily's reply to my apology starts with manipulating the public to distrust everything I wrote, and the rest is filled with lies to turn everyone against me. On stream, Shylily basically told her chat that they're stupid if they don't blindly agree with her in her retelling of events, and that I'm the narcissistic manipulator. This started because Shylily lied to and manipulated Nano. My friends and the public wouldn't have had any reason to distrust anything Shylily said, and they had other reasons to jump to conclusions too. Shylily didn't like me for her own reasons and wanted to hurt me because of what was said about Bao and Nano's DMs with Red. She brought everyone together and manipulated things along in turn. She brought everyone together and manipulated things along to turn everyone against me, then admitted on stream to all of the slander Red told Nano. The reward for lying speculation. After lying about our years of working together, Nano was rewarded with over 50,000 followers on Twitter, a waifu cup with gamer subs, a makeshift plushie, everyone in the world wanting to work with her, the support and praise of the biggest VTuber out there, and endless sympathy for everything she endured while working with me. August 28th, 2025. August 29th, 2025. Shylily not only replaced me in my own friend group, but as the hero of the story, she gained the biggest and most consistent growth in her viewership after canceling me out of everyone involved. I'm the greedy one, but Shylily didn't miss the opportunity to capitalize on her new hero status a week after she tore me apart on her stream and dropped her limited edition Blowhole Blast, May 5th, 2025. Nano and Shylily lied to each other, then lied together, each for their own reasons. Nano to avoid any accountability for her actions and stay in good graces of Shylily and friends, and Shylily to get revenge for Bao and take out someone she didn't like, and admittedly never did. They both gained the most out of doing this and possibly never knew they lied to each other's faces for their own ends. Now, Shylily may have replaced me as Nano's new Sinder. Judging by what they're actively working on together, they couldn't have made my point for me any better. September 2nd, 2025. A Skeb with Shylily. There's one last thing I want to show to really cover all of my bases. I didn't know where else to put it, so I've added it here. I asked Shylily if I could get a Skeb of us together. After it was delivered, I intentionally waited about 3 weeks to send it to her so I could post it closer to my original VTuber debut date that I was preparing for a year and a half. January 25th, 2022. I messaged Shylily about getting a Skeb together in January. This was our first time talking privately, but we were interacting on Twitter back and forth for a couple weeks before this. One of the first things Shylily ever privately said to me was that our themes together reminded her of Groudon and Kyogre. I thought it was pretty cringe of her to say that, as if she was some kind of box legendary in a Skeb she wasn't even helping pay for. Even though she made this comparison, it's not like she'd ever portray herself in a Groudon and Kyogre-esque fight sequence against a fire-themed enemy where she comes out as the hero and saves her friends, especially not just months after she took pleasure in and had a major role in canceling me. The Fire Within Shylily lore video and the YouTube channel Shylily. I know how long a project like this takes to complete, and even though I'm sure Shylily had a story she wanted to tell, someone else was credited with writing this lore video. I just find it ironic that it happened. The Skeb was delivered at the end of May on May 25th, 2022. June 19th, 2022. I sent Shylily the completed artwork on the 19th and posted it on June 23rd, 2022, 2 days before my debut. June 23rd, 2022, by the time this art was posted, it had been just shy of 6 months since the Skeb was placed. My Skeb page. Since I just talked about the Skeb with Shylily, I might as well address this too. For years, the Skebs I had gotten with people have been held against me, as if I were just using people I got them with for clout. Shylily's Skeb was the only one I held off on giving her to post right before my debut, but that wasn't my intention when it was ordered that January. I was ordering Skeb artwork from January 2021 to January 2023, and about 3/4 of my Skebs were ordered before my original I was ordering Skeb artwork from January 2021 to January 2023, and about 3/4 of my Skebs were ordered before my original debut on June 25th, 2022. Before I was an actual VTuber with a model, I got Skebs for fun to show things to people, to grow existing friendships, and to have art to post on Twitter while I waited for my debut to be ready. Every VTuber I had gotten a Skeb together with was either with someone I was actively working with, had already worked with, or was someone who I was already friends with or acquainted with. At the time I ordered them, I asked everyone for their permission to get one beforehand, except for the few cases it was a surprise meant to be a gift for someone. As far as I remember and can tell by my financial files, I paid for all of these myself, including Shylily's, and I never expected anyone to chip in. This is every Skeb I ordered, with about half of them being of myself. The centered Skebs below are NSFW. There are 2 Skebs with Tricky and Aru that didn't show up on this page that I've shown below this instead. In conclusion, in Bao's section, Red explained his grudge against Bao that led to his and Nano's exclusivity deal. Does it matter explaining why Red held things against Bao that he told Nano about, or explaining that I only treated Bao differently because of Red's feelings towards her? No, but since this was all made public, it had to be explained. What both of us did was wrong, and we should have addressed the problem when we could have. But it matters how Red got to his conclusion about Bao. Red couldn't see the whole situation around Bao and Sack any other way. After Sack went exclusive, Red pieced together every action he experienced and noticed from Bao to corroborate a story. Based on assumptions and a pattern of behavior that made perfect sense to him, he ignored any of the good things Bao had done, now thinking she was being fake about everything. He didn't contact Bao about any of this at all to verify his theory. He was angry at her and already made up his mind about what she'd done and thought she'd lie about it anyway. Red eventually tried to get even with her by making a deal with Nano to take the opportunity of working with her away from Bao. Once the truth came out, he turned out to be wrong. What Red did was, 1. Piece together an assumed story about someone from observations and experiences with them after something negative happened regarding them, adding up to a supposed pattern of behavior. 2. Focus solely on all of the negative things that happened with that person that fit the confirmation bias towards them, never considering any of the positives, which all became part of the conspiracy. 3. Never contacted the person to find out the truth of the story due to being angry at them for what was already determined happened, and thinking they'd lie their way out of accountability. 4. Took retaliatory action against that person in response to what it was assumed they did. 5. The story about the person turned out to be wrong to begin with. Well, couldn't Bao and my friends have done the same thing? They heard what Nano and Shylily were telling them, saw select screenshots of Red's messages with Nano, and assumed there couldn't be any other way but me knowing and agreeing with everything Red said and did. They used their combined experiences with us to back up their theory, were convinced of my motives by someone other than myself, and corroborated a patterned behavior. No matter what I'd done for them or what we did together in the past, everything was now seen as an act to use or betray them. None of them contacted me at all to verify their claims, and instead jumped to 2 conclusions. They were mad at me for what they were already convinced I did, and were probably told I'd manipulate my way out of it. Then they took action against me that they thought I deserved in return by writing and posting their documents to the public. My friends made their decisions with the information they were given. They were quick to assume that everything Red said were my shared thoughts, but they weren't. My friends never saw Red and I argue, didn't know we lived together, never knew I cheated on Red, and couldn't have known our relationship was beyond what they saw during the half a dozen times we traveled every year. They decided that this was the culmination of some long series of wrongs I've committed against them to further myself. I am not a perfect person by any means, but to claim that everything I've ever done with my friends for them, shared with them, felt with them, was all fake is wrong and unbelievable. Where are any of the screenshots of me bad-mouthing, backstabbing, or sabotaging them? They were not rungs on a ladder for me to surpass. I have never had real friends until I found them. They used their status in the community as some of the biggest VTubers around, ambushing me in the middle of the night to publicly call out the person they were falsely convinced was some kind of evil mastermind. They all did this together, so no one was going to question their group's corroborated story. It was okay to ruin me and ignore our history together because they were convinced they were doing it for the sake of friendship. If you asked questions or asked for more evidence, you were banned, blocked, and silenced, because how dare you question those grieving in this difficult time? The public wouldn't have known any better unless I gave the full context of what really happened in this document, rather than what was vaguely told to them through recollection and hurt feelings. Val lost out on a VTuber model with Nanoless, the artist who wanted to cancel it in the first place, and who convinced her it was my fault. I decided to pull out of my unplanned performance in Numi's concert because of my own anxieties, and I was a bad friend when I made the choice initially not to be there for her. I lost my friends, my career, countless opportunities, and my reputation to millions of people has been ruined. Permanently. My name has been dragged through the dirt and has become an insult synonymous with insincerity and betrayal. I'm avoided being spoken of like I'm VTuber Voldemort now, and some people are pretending like I never existed. These things are not equal. The damage my friends have inadvertently caused to me is irreparable and immeasurable all over conjecture. Lies they were fed, things I never knew happened, and opinions I did not agree with, whether they knew the truth or not, they all perpetuated lies about me to the public, and my life has been forever altered because of it. Despite it all, I still forgive them. Numi said on her stream that talking about things is always the better option. The pivotal thing my friends didn't do was talk to me or read about anything. Never hearing what we had to say about Nano's and Shylily's claims, even Bao on her stream was left questioning the motive behind things. Everything that happened circles back to poor communication from everyone. Both Red and I didn't communicate with Bao about his problems with her in December 2024. I didn't communicate with Numi about performing in her concert and how I felt about it before I canceled on her. If there were ever really any problems Nano had with us, she never communicated it. Numi didn't communicate with me about her concert, only trying to plan things through Red, and confided in Bao about how she felt about me canceling. Bao didn't communicate with me about her feelings of isolation, only expressing those feelings to Numi privately. Shylily didn't communicate with me about whatever problems she had with me and resorted to petty actions instead. No one communicated with me or Red before choosing to make everything public, ending in my cancellation. In conclusion, Nanoless. I don't think Nano's actions didn't start out malicious. She wanted to find out if what Red said was true, and Shylily used that against me. I do not believe Nano ever shared the full, true story of what happened between her, Red, and I with my friends, and instead chose to protect herself and lie about everything. It's hard to believe Nano put her own document together, and it's heavily evidenced that Shylily did. Nano sat back and let Shylily take the wheel for her, after knowingly lying about what happened between us. When you consider that Nano's and Bao's documents were planned together and posted simultaneously, it was on purpose to put my betrayal of my friend first and foremost, even though Nano said she didn't care about Bao. After viewing the entirety of Red's DMs with Nano and having the full context of their conversations, it's very clear that Nano's entire document was maliciously and deceptively written to push a false narrative to the public on which everyone else's claims could be based on, while using emotionally triggering language in its accusations throughout. With the biggest VTubers Shylily supporting her, no one would question Nano's claims, even my friends. Would put under scrutiny, there are so many details purposely left out, giving the freedom to tell whatever story they wanted that the DMs that were shown vaguely supported. Screenshots from conversations over 2 years presented out of order, missing context and mixed and matched to fit a narrative, even going as far as to boldly edit a screenshot to remove a message. Claims were made without evidence, and straight-up lies were told, meant to be believed by the public who wouldn't know any better. Some of the claims in Nano's document don't even match the screenshots provided as evidence. It's like no one actually read the screenshots provided and either just read what was written or just listened to the large voices telling everyone what they said happened. This document was falsely written to paint Nano as a victim who had no agency in her choices without showing any of her guilt, and Red and I as evil, manipulative people who only wanted to use Nano for our own gain, sabotaging every project she's ever cancelled and cherry picking exactly what needed to be shown to make that case. Everyone was told that everything in Red's messages had to be my thoughts and feelings as well, for all the blame to be put onto me, and as if he isn't his own person. Only 3 total screenshots of my own words from 2 conversations over a year apart from each other were shown. The only manipulation there was to the evidence in Nano's document and to the public's perception of me. Neither of us sabotaged any VTubers projects with Nano. As you've seen from our messages, we've always praised Nano for the work she did with others. I've always supported my model sisters and I platformed them myself on my stream, even if I could also understand the reasoning behind Red saying more Nano models means they're less special. In the case of the exclusivity deal in January 2025, Red asked Nano not to work with Bao, Cotton, or Silverveil. Nano said she had a model planned with Bao that he didn't know about before, and Bao probably didn't know about it either. Nano offered to cancel Bao's model in exchange for payment for her own model's rigging. They negotiated and made a deal that was never shown to the public. To argue that Nano was manipulated in any way is crazy. Nano was just as complicit in their deal as Red was. She had no problem asking him about and talking about the drama around Bao that her document claimed she wanted nothing to do with, and then offered to cancel Bao's model herself. I had nothing to do with this happening and had no knowledge of it until the documents were posted. Red and Nano are the only 2 people that could have told me about this, and neither of them did. There's nothing to show for it because it didn't happen. I can't prove a negative. Nano lied and pushed all of her agency of her own actions onto Red. Then Shylily and my friends took Red's agency away from him and his actions, and then blamed everything either one of them did on me. Nano used us as a scapegoat for her canceling Bao's model when she was the one who wanted to do it in the first place. She cancelled Silverveil's and Cotton's models in November of 2023 and blamed it on us. And when she said she was going to take Silver's model back, she didn't because she was healthier and less stressed. She cancelled 7 models in September of 2024, avoiding accountability for herself and implying to those clients that it wasn't her fault. It was my fault. I don't know if the 10 cancelled projects talked about in Red's DMs with Nano was everything she ever cancelled or everything she blamed us for with her document, but it's all he ever knew about. Nano was clearly capable of thinking for herself and was always in control of her own business decisions. She repeatedly overextended herself and overbooked too many projects that she couldn't handle again and again. If Nano was able to cancel on some of the biggest VTubers out there, bigger than me, she could have chosen to cancel plans with us or stopped working with me altogether if she really felt the way it says she did in her document. But not once did she. Instead, she said she just wanted to do Sinder stuff. We didn't hold any power over Nano, we didn't threaten her, we didn't blackmail her, and we didn't manipulate her. We were her most loyal, supportive, sympathetic, and repetitious clients who genuinely cared about her, and she knew it. Even if Nano genuinely had anything against us, the way her document explains, which she never ever showed or expressed, she could have aired her grievances with us and parted ways, evidenced by her acceptance of Akira's messages. But instead, she found herself in this situation, and as soon as it was advantageous for her to do so, she conspired to cut all contact with us and use us as a scapegoat for her own actions under the guise of abuse after one conversation with Shylily. It didn't matter who we were to her, just that she would have been caught without blaming us and using the manipulation excuse. She carved a path to the best outcome possible for herself and came out of this with more support than ever. As stated in this artist's now deleted tweet, Nano removed herself from direct conversation and used emotional language to attack and rally rather than actually caring about fixing the problem. Nano has shown herself to be an entirely self-serving and opportunistic person pretending to be weak whose word means nothing. Given the opportunity to further herself or gain something to her benefit, even at someone else's expense, at the biggest VTuber's expense, or even if it's at the expense of people as supportive as of okay. Given the opportunity to further herself or gain something to her benefit, even at someone else's expense, at the biggest VTuber's expense, or even if it's at the expense of people as supportive as we were to her, she'll take it. The public was lied to about what really happened between myself, Red, and Nano. Nano wasn't manipulated, she wasn't a victim, and I didn't betray Bao or any of my other friends. Nanoless betrayed me, and in the end, I was nothing to her. It really was just business to Nano. Red and I were her most supportive and loyal clients over 4 years, paying for her to be taught how to cut art for model rigging in the first place, giving her over $100,000 to buy her new house, building our careers side by side, and this is how she thanked us. No matter what Nano did, she will continue to be supported by the people she worked with to cancel me, and by people that want her artistic talent. I will continue to use my art and models from Nanoless until they can be replaced. In conclusion, Shylily. I used to look up to Shylily, but now, I don't know how anyone can. The L she holds on her forehead must stand for liar, because Shylily was the first person to do so. She had her own grudges against me before this all started, and in true narcissistic fashion, she lied to and manipulated Nano to avoid accountability, turning her against me. She's Shylily, so of course Nano was going to believe anything she said. The only thing done to Shylily was that Red dared to speak about what she was guilty of doing, and thought we'd have to consider her competition for her petty, unwarranted behavior towards me. She still expected her own section in my apology, though, as if I had anything to apologize to her for, other than not knowing she was talked about. She probably just wanted a concession from me for some narcissistic sense of victory. Shylily wants to claim she sucks at Discord, and Bosca told me that Shylily rarely uses Discord, only for business meetings and stuff. I guess that part was true because this was all just business to her. She had no problem using, understanding, navigating, organizing, and communicating with a dozen or more people in Discord consistently over 2 weeks when it came to canceling me, but for some reason, didn't have the balls to respond when I tried to resolve things between us. From my own experience, her sucking at Discord is an excuse to avoid accountability, for her to not put in the time and energy to talk to people she doesn't feel are worthy of her time, including her friends, something I was attacked for. I'm confident Shylily wrote Nano's document for her, used Bao as the emotional centerpiece, and told whatever story she wanted to tell. She hid behind the scenes and kept her hands clean of involvement, staying out of the drama until it came to dunking on my tweet and making sure I'd stay down. She became the hero, defender of her friends, and turned me into the villain. Shylily projected her own actions and behavior of narcissism, manipulation, jealousy, and avoiding accountability onto me, and convinced all of my friends of it too, while manipulating everyone to believe everything I've ever said was me lying through my teeth with words like honey. She threw her morals out the window, lied, and claimed I was trying to deplatform them when Shylily was the one eager to deplatform me. Shylily is deathly afraid of losing relevance, and she gladly conspired to take out the person she felt she was losing relevance to in her own passion project, and pushed my cancellation to be done as soon as Bao was out of surgery with Nano's career-ending evidence. No one was going to distrust Shylily's word or side against her. Her celebrating my cancellation on her stream was justified in the eyes of the public she misled, all while admitting to the slander that started this. Shylily didn't care about accountability. She was ready for blood, and she got it. It's very easy to lie about someone when the person being lied about is the only one who can disprove them, and everyone was manipulated to believe anything they could say in their defense couldn't be trusted. Twist what really happened to fit a narrative, then repeat it over and over again until it's believed to be fact. Cinder took no accountability. Cinder knew everything. Cinder betrayed her friends. It's just business. And no matter how many times they claimed, Cinder did this and Cinder did that, doesn't make any of Red's actions my actions. Any evidence shown of my actual involvement was near non-existent. Just because they corroborated their stories and told them loudly and emotionally doesn't make them true. If you need to present your evidence dishonestly, out of order, out of context, even doctoring it, and then make claims that the evidence doesn't even show, then maybe that evidence isn't reliable, and the real story is different from the story being told. This was a witch hunt, and everyone involved just wanted to move on from it as soon as I was gone. And that's the end of that. I spent 4 hours reading this. Oh my gosh. Undoctored. This is undoctored footage. This is a one-off. But yeah, that's the breakdown. And with that, that is the final thing I'll be talking about with this Cinder Google Doc. I am almost ready to drop this. I have one more thing left regarding the Cinder situation. And once I do that, I'm done. And if I ever talk about it again, it'll probably be done on the down low. But yeah, I'm at this point, like I said at the beginning of the stream, by doing this, I am 99% done with this, and then I'll just stop milking it for all it's worth. But reiterating what I said at the beginning of the video, the reason why I'm doing this is because I found it unfair that prominent YouTubers, like content creators, influencers, looked at Sinder's 1,000-page Google Doc, dismissed it, or cherry-picked certain things from it to support the narrative that the Google Doc does a good job refuting. And so I feel it is only fair that as fans of Cinder, we take the time to sit down and read all of this. It's a lot of reading. But read all of this and understand it. This is basically self-serving at this point. This video is being made like over a month since Cinder dropped this 1,000-page Google Doc. But anyway, self-serving regardless. What I basically did now is give you a pseudo audiobook for you to listen to, so not only do you see the words, you can hear them too, in my voice, which I need to take care of. Jesus Christ, I barely took any water breaks in that. But yeah. I'm 99% done covering this. I have one last thing to do, and then that'll be it. And I'll wrap it in a bow. Put it away. Unless something happens. Oh, anyway. Yeah, who knows, maybe something happens. But anyway. Put that aside. Do you want to support this lovely hellhound? If you want to, a link to her card will be in the description below. In the card will be links to her socials, link to her YouTube and Twitch. And if you shop on gamersubs.com, don't forget to use code Cinder for 10% off your order on checkout. And with that being said, everything I used in the video will be in the description below. I encourage you, the viewer, to go to the source, so that way you yourself can come to your own independent conclusion.